Chapter 1782. Within the wisdom tree, news of the siren demon's defeat quickly spread. The 8-star Tengu, nicknamed Master Ba, told everyone the order from the top. For a moment, everyone was disheartened. They had thought that their plan to split the battle sect would go smoothly. Who would have thought that such an inexplicable and unheard-of expert would appear out of nowhere? It could be said that Wang Mei's appearance was an accident. She had appeared out of nowhere and blocked the way, destroying all the plans that Tengu was trying to implement. The Siren Demon Senior lost to Wang Mei. Her again. Where did this woman come from? Where did she come from? According to the reliable information provided by Di Zun and the records of the Siren Demon Senior's fight, we can conclude that this Wang Mei is an Eternal One. This battle sect elder named Wang Mimi was very likely to be an Eternal One, just like Di Zun and householder Sea Monster. She was known as the Blood Lotus Female Butcher in ancient times, said Master Ba. The Blood Lotus Female Butcher? The Tengu were in an uproar. No one had expected Wang Mei to be an Eternal One as well. But when they thought about it carefully, it seemed that this was the only explanation for why Wang Mei could defeat the Siren Demon Senior, who was also an Eternal One. The true strength of these Eternal Ones was far beyond the comprehension of Earth's cultivators. They could easily beat a planet like a bowling ball. The reason why Tengu had been able to grow unbridled over the past few years was ultimately because everyone had full confidence in themselves. They knew that there was a big shot, the Eternal One, whose combat strength far exceeded that of Earth's cultivators. The Siren Demon Senior was an Eternal One that they were familiar with, and Di Zun was familiar with. A 5-star Tengu said, "It seems that everything makes sense now. I was wondering why the battle sect could develop so much in such a short period of time. It turns out that there is an Eternal One behind it." Master Ba crossed his fingers and held his chin. "You're wrong. I'm afraid the battle sect's background is deeper than we thought." "What do you mean?" "According to the Siren Demon Senior, unless there is a great benefit, the proud Eternal One would not lower himself to work for someone else. The Sea Demon Layman and the Venerable Sovereign are good friends, so he has a reason to help us." "Then why is this Blood Lotus Female Butcher an elder in the fighting sect? Maybe he's also a friend, like a guest?" "Since we're friends, I'll help as friends. Don't you think it's strange that she's wearing the skin of a beautiful earth cultivator to hide her identity as the Blood Lotus Female Butcher and willingly hide as an elder in the battle sect?" Master Ba said. At this point, everyone suddenly understood. The 8th Master is right. Many people nodded in agreement. Thinking of the behemoth hidden behind battle sect, they were a little flustered for a moment. Then if that's the case, aren't there a lot of ancient beings hidden behind battle sect? Even grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, the leader of battle sect, and the elders of the core group might be one of them. So, this is what Senior Siren Demon Senior is most worried about. Under the mask, Master Ba's expression was exceptionally solemn. His tone was low, and everyone could sense a hidden tension in his voice. Although Senior Siren Demon Senior's operation this time failed, at least we've probed battle sect strength and avoided direct losses in a head-on clash. The other party might have no less than 10 ancient beings in their hands. Can we really resist them? Are you looking down on the Venerable Sovereign?" Master Ba laughed. The Venerable Sovereign never said that Senior Siren Demon Senior was his only friend. Also, I've already received news that the Venerable Sovereign will continue to send more than 20 ancient beings to support us, both openly and secretly. Furthermore, the Venerable Sovereign thinks that we have to crush battle sect first before destroying its financial network. So the Senior Siren he sent to us is also an expert in this area. What kind of senior is he? This senior's codename is Stonecutter. As the name suggests, he has a way of turning wasteland into spirit stones. This is much faster than injecting spirit energy into the spirit stone making machine. Master Ba said, "With the help of Senior Stone Apothecary, we can sell the spirit stones created by Senior Stone Apothecary for cash. Then, we can continuously expand our capital without any losses. In the end, we can monopolize the spirit stones on Earth and push down the value of immortal gold." So that's how it is. They want to empty battle sect? a 6-star heavenly hound exclaimed. But there are ancient beings in Battle's sect. If they send them to inject spirit energy and use the spirit stone making machine to create spirit stones, won't that create a conflict with us? It's impossible. Master Ba shook his head. The steps of Earth's spirit stone making machine are complicated. After injecting spirit energy, it needs to be repeatedly purified to form spirit stones. Although the ancient beings have an ocean of spirit energy, they are still people from ancient times. Spirit energy isn't the only type of energy in their bodies. It's impossible to analyze such a complicated energy composition with Earth's spirit stone making machine. Unless there's someone who can continuously produce pure spiritual power, and can continue to output it regardless of the cost, that's the only way. Lord Ba smiled and said, everyone here should be very clear that such a person simply doesn't exist. Using the spirit stone making machine to continuously produce spirit stones and injecting spirit energy without rest will consume one's lifespan. Even a ready-made spirit stone making machine has to follow a reasonable rotation system. No one would be stupid enough to squeeze themselves dry in a place like this. Master Ba's words make a lot of sense. Squeezing yourself dry isn't good for your kidneys. The heavenly hounds roared with laughter, and the originally tense atmosphere began to gradually ease up. Don't worry, everyone. Dizun promised me that the ancient beings who came to our aid this time will definitely destroy Battle's sect. Apart from the stonecutter that I just introduced, there are many other ancient beings. Let me introduce them to everyone later. As for the ancient beings in the dark, where are they? As far as I know, they've already hidden themselves among Earth's cultivators. Just like the beautiful blood lotus butcher disguised as Wang, they have excellent identities as a cover. They could be male stars, female idols, delivery boys, shoe manufacturers who refuse to apologize, or authors who refuse to update their chapters because they don't know how to update their chapters. Chapter 1783. The hotel's dining setup was a Chinese buffet with all kinds of delicacies from the 8 major cuisines. Apart from that, there was also a special area for creative cuisine. The people accompanying them realized that crispy noodle snacks seemed to be indispensable to these creative cuisines. For example, if you crushed them, wrapped them in lobster, and fried them, you would become the new tempura. Is there such a way to eat? This ingratiation was so obvious that Super Chin, Hirogwa, and the others were stupefied. At the same time, they felt a little jealous as well as admiration for Wang Ling. In a normal situation, no one would be able to withstand such a fierce sugar-coated bullet from the young miss of a financial group. Furthermore, it wasn't just sugar-coated bullets, they could even feel Lotus Sun's affection for Wang Ling from these trivial details. Unfortunately, this iron tree didn't blossom, and Blockhead didn't become enlightened. That innocent face with its dead fish eyes looked like it would never receive any emotional signals, which made people feel anxious. Old Pan had always opposed high school relationships, and believed that studying was always the top priority. The people from number 60 high school could naturally understand their teacher-in-charge's good intentions. But when it came to relationships, it was hard to say. Sometimes, a spark would suddenly sprout, and there was no stopping it. Of course, this included Super Chin, Hirogwa, Li Yuyue, and Fang Xing. They weren't the slightest bit worried that Lotus Sun and Wang Ling would be criticized by the school for their relationship in high school, because judging from the current results, Wang Ling, this blockhead, was like an emotionless machine. Perhaps it would take a long time for the seed of this emotion to blossom and bear fruit. When do you think they'll be together? Hirogwa asked curiously as he put food on his plate. I don't think they'll be able to settle it in high school. Maybe in university? Super Chin guessed casually. He had just said it casually, no one thought that Super Chin's casual remark would actually become a prophecy later on. They talked and laughed as they put food on their plates. Only Fang Xing's expression was unruffled like an ancient well, and it wasn't hard to see that he was a little solemn. He was the only one among them who knew Wang Muyu's true identity. At the same time, as one of the core members of the Battle sect, he had naturally come with a mission. Although Super Chin, Hirogwa, and Li Yuyue had been invited by Lotus Sun for this trip abroad this time, Fang Xing still had to pay attention to controlling the conversation at all times, as well as the safety of the three of them during their regular trips. After all, Tengu was already trying to make a move on Lotus Sunday. If they went crazy, they might even attack Lotus Sun's classmates. As people who had been personally invited by Lotus Sun to travel abroad, it went without saying that Super Chen and the others were in danger. Thus, Fang Xing was extremely cautious throughout the meal, keeping a close eye on his surroundings for any suspicious people. In short, Fang Xing was really too nervous. So nervous that he could even feel it. Wang Ling didn't know when it had started, but Fang Xing had felt a kind of pressure on him. In Wang Ling's memory, Fang Xing hadn't been like this in the past. His sunny smile and unruffled demeanor seemed to be what Wang Ling remembered him to be like. Wang Ling glanced at Fang Xing out of the corner of his eye, then walked toward the private room from the cooking area. In passing, he used the primer spell to toss a piece of crispy noodle snack chocolate into Fang Xing's plate. Dessert was good for easing the tense atmosphere. Fang Xing stared blankly at the special chocolate on his plate for a long time. He seemed to sense Wang Ling's meaning, and then he adjusted his breathing and heaved a sigh of relief before following Wang Ling into the private room. He had just taken a step when the crisp sound of a plate shattering rang out behind him. Someone smashed the porcelain plate in his hand onto the floor and even pushed over the dessert rack on the table. Trash. All trash. What creative cuisine, putting junk food flour into noble desserts. Is this how your hotel deceives its customers? A burly blonde foreign man cursed rapidly in a foreign language. Super Chen and Hero Guo weren't good at English, and the man spoke so quickly that for a moment, they didn't quite understand what he meant. They only roughly understood that the man was complaining about the desserts on the buffet table. It felt like he was taking a listening test, and it was a hellish listening test with difficulty. At that moment, Wang Ling's hand trembled slightly as he held the fork. Brother, forget it, let's not lower ourselves to this man's level. He's just here to pick a fight. Wang Muyu stood on a chair on the side and patted Wang Ling's shoulder lightly. He had to comfort him, because he felt that if he didn't think of a way to pacify him, it wouldn't just be this man who would die an ugly death, even the earth would die an ugly death. They sat motionlessly in the private room. As Wang Ling ate, he gazed at the back of the foreign man outside with his king's eye. Perhaps sensing the resentment behind his back, the man instinctively felt a chill run down his spine. But as the party who had been paid to do the job, he had to get it done no matter how difficult it was. My big brother, it's because he ate the food here. He's still lying in the hospital. This hotel's back kitchen isn't clean at all, he continued to clamor. He had no evidence, and was just making up empty words. Wang Ling realized that this seemed to be the ancestral skill of some foreigners who were good at lying, twisting right and wrong to make a lie sound like the truth. And to them, this might not be a lie, because these people had done it before. There were a lot of recent examples to illustrate this, and Wang Ling couldn't be bothered to prove it. He sat in the private room and kept his cool, planning to see how things would develop. Very quickly, the hotel's restaurant manager rushed over. He was a kind-looking, black-haired Asian little brother who looked very kind. When he saw the situation in front of him, he patiently explained to the man in front of him, "Sir, please show me your ticket." The man had all his props, and he hurriedly took out the ticket from his pocket. "Right here." "What? Do you think I'm a freeloader?" The manager looked at it and smiled. "I'm very sorry, sir. The creative cuisine area you're in right now isn't covered by this ticket. In other words, you don't have the right to taste the food in the creative cuisine area. We will compensate you at the original price for these destroyed delicacies. At the same time, please leave this place as soon as possible, and this restaurant will refund all your expenses. From now on, we will no longer receive rude customers." "What do you mean by this?" The man was furious, and grabbed the hotel manager's collar. The hotel manager's expression was calm and unflustered. "As you've heard, Mr. Meili, you've already been blacklisted by our hotel. This is also the instruction of our hotel's newcomer, Boss Sunday. If you're still unreasonable, Boss Sun said that depending on the situation, we might take the hotel's self-defense measures." In order to protect the safety of other guests, we have the right to break your legs and drag you out. After saying this, the manager looked at the private room Wang Ling was in. Do you see that, Mr. Meili? The people in the private room are our hotel's distinguished guests, and they're enjoying the delicacies. They're pitiful, weak, and helpless. Chapter 1784. Even without reading the other party's mind, Wang Ling knew that this was someone who had been arranged to come here. Even if he didn't read the other party's mind, Wang Ling knew that this person was deliberately looking for trouble. The force he belonged to could be Tengu, or it could be another organization. After all, Glio City was a foreign country, and the internal structure of the city was very complicated. Tengu was just one of the forces. There were also mercenaries, news organizations, local tyrants, and cultivation research institutes stationed in Glio City all year round. These organizations usually didn't get along with each other, but they all had one thing in common, which was that they were very xenophobic. They didn't even hesitate to fabricate news and fabricate lies to whitewash some of their vile deeds. Take a small number of news organizations for example. The fake news they broadcast was almost always filtered through the netherworld, and didn't seem out of place at all when accompanied by Suona music. It felt as if they were about to send people away. This person is deliberately looking for trouble, isn't he? Li Yue asked at that moment, breaking the silence in the private room. There's clearly a problem. Boss Sun's Huagua Water Curtain Group has a partnership with Battle Sect, which is already very eye-catching. In addition, he has now acquired a lot of hotel chains in Glio City. I'm afraid this kind of behavior has touched on the interests of some people here. Hirogwa calmly analyzed the situation. In the future, there will definitely be a lot of people who will come to cause trouble. Li Yue, I heard that a lot of people in Glio City are very xenophobic, especially Asians. Even an old granny walking on the road might suddenly meet one or two pieces of trash and fall to the ground with a flying kick. Hearing this, Fang Xing sighed helplessly. This is the world's chain of discrimination, and it will always exist. It's hard to change it in a short period of time, and the only way is to become stronger. You have to become stronger and stronger, so strong that one day you can make them follow your heart. Follow your heart? It means being a coward. I see. As Wang Ling listened to the debate in the private room, he also noticed that the man outside had finally left the restaurant under the hotel manager's kind and forceful eviction. He had left, but this ruckus had still affected the customers around them. Faced with the mess in front of him, the hotel manager couldn't help sighing. He shook his head as he helplessly ordered people to clean up the mess. I wonder if the person just now had any camera equipment. At that moment, Li Yue suddenly said, nowadays, there are a lot of cases where the villain accuses the victim first. If that man had recorded something, then edited it maliciously and posted it on the internet, I'm afraid it would have a serious impact on Boss Sunday. That's too cheap. Super Chen was amazed. But you can't deny that there are people who believe in this. Whether it's in the country or abroad, people will only believe in what they believe. When the rumors started to spread, the truth was no longer that important to some people. They just wanted the temporary pleasure of venting their anger. After I say what I want to say, I don't care what the truth is. Do you want me to handle it? Fang Xing looked into Wang Ling's eyes and asked telepathically. Wang Ling secretly shook his head. He had already texted Wang Ming to check that person's coordinates and make sure that no strange things had been secretly recorded. Furthermore, given Wang Ming's personality, when he hacked into the other party's equipment, he would also publish some of the strange things that were stored in the other party's equipment. If they were uploaded to the internet for public exhibition, it would be a social death. Super Chen picked up a mouthful of food, and it tasted like wax in his mouth. Sure enough, after someone stirred it up, his meal didn't even taste good anymore. He couldn't help complaining, this kind of person doesn't know how to live. Everyone. At 8:00 that evening, when Lotus Sun had just arrived in Glio City. On the way to the hotel, she saw the news broadcast on the local news station. It said that a man called Meili had been cursing and not paying attention to the road conditions as he left the hotel, and had directly been sent flying by a truck. He fell into a sewer that was being repaired in a Thomas full spin position, and finally fell into a septic tank deep inside. Because of the acceleration of gravity, he sank too deep, and after flopping around a few times, he suffocated and died. Lotus' son, Uncle Lin, is this Mei Li the person who came to our hotel to cause trouble before? Steward Lin swept his gaze over the portrait on the screen and frowned. Not good, it really seems to be him. Why do you say it's not good? Lotus' son didn't understand. Miss, there's something you don't know, but the forces in Glio City are very complicated. This person came to cause trouble right after we bought the hotel. It's clear that he was secretly arranged by a small group of forces. Steward Lin said, this person didn't directly die in our hotel, and from the surveillance footage, it was 100% an accident. However, the forces behind him definitely think that it was because this man caused trouble, so we secretly sent someone to get rid of him. Is that even possible? Lotus' son was stunned. She hadn't expected to run into this kind of trouble as soon as she arrived in Glio City. She had just wanted to take everyone here to have some fun and sightsee, and in passing help Wang Ling use up the world snack voucher. She had never thought that as soon as she landed, she would be directly embroiled in a power struggle. Miss, I'm afraid the road ahead won't be easy. As the saying goes, a powerful dragon can't suppress a local snake. We've just bought the hotel, so we have to be very careful from now on. Steward Lin said worriedly, these people could retaliate against us or the people around us at any time. Miss, you have your own Shifu, so I can relax a little when it comes to safety. But miss, your classmates. Yue will stay with me for the next 2 days, it won't be a problem. I can protect her, said Lotus Sunday, but what about that hero Gua? He has a lot of uncles, and maybe his uncles are also in those forces, Feng Xing. Uncle Lin should know, right? He's actually Immortal Shi Pai's son, so it's definitely no problem for him to protect himself. Then what about Super Chin? Hearing this, Lotus' son instantly fell silent. Because she couldn't say anything about Super Chin. She could vaguely sense that Mei Li's death might have something to do with Super Chin. You see, miss, there are always places we can't take care of. Steward Lin frowned. I'm still most worried about Mr. Wang Ling and young Master Wooden Fish. Look at them, they're both so weak that they can stand up to a gust of wind, they could be seriously injured at any time. Lotus' son, in fact, these two were the most dangerous. One was a little dragon man formed from the combination of excellent dragon genes, and the other was an immortal king with unknown strength, so here was the problem. Lotus' son herself knew that a powerful dragon couldn't suppress a local snake. But these two were here. She was actually quite curious, even if they were suppressed, what could these people do to them? Chapter 1785. The Crimson Orchid Society was the largest mafia organization in Glio City. It engaged in all sorts of illegal activities and had several highly mature mercenary groups under its command. Mei Li, who had fallen into the septic tank and died, was one of the members of the Crimson Orchid Society. Before Huaguo Water Curtain Group had acquired the Snail Hotel chain, the previous owner of the Snail Hotel had regularly paid the Crimson Orchid Society a security management fund to maintain order in the hotels. In layman's terms, it was protection money. But now that Huaguo Water Curtain Group had taken over, the Crimson Orchid Society had lost a way to collect large amounts of funds without taking any risks. Of course, the Crimson Orchid Society wouldn't let it go so easily, so they decided to send a team leader called Mei Li to cause trouble before making a big fuss, as a warning. The president of the Crimson Orchid Society was also taking a gamble. He was betting that if he made a scene, Lotus' son would get scared and continue to pay protection money like the previous owner of the Snail Hotel, and he would be able to enjoy the profits without any effort. However, the president of the Crimson Orchid Society, Levis, hadn't expected that Mei Li would actually die, and that her death had nothing to do with the Snail Hotel. At least not on the surface. The video recorded by the surveillance camera clearly captured the scene of Mei Li cursing as she walked out of the hotel. Because she did not look at the road, she was directly loaded into the sewer by a truck and fell into the septic tank. The president of the Crimson Orchid Society, Levis, trembled all over at the sight. President, is there really no hope for team leader Mei Li? He's in the late golden core stage. A female secretary beside Levis asked fearfully. It's no use even if he's in the golden core stage. In Glio City, the average level of cultivators is at the early golden core stage. The quality of cultivators is very high. Moreover, the filth in the septic tank is also the toxins excreted by cultivators at or above the gold core stage. Meili was surrounded by so many mixed toxins, it would be very difficult for her to hold on. When Levis said this, even he himself felt a little nauseous. Such a way of dying was unprecedented. It could be said to be tragic. This group of people was simply too daring. They'd only just arrived in Glio City, yet they dared to plan such a sophisticated murder. Levis was a little puzzled. Who was it? This was the real evil force, President. Could this be a pure coincidence? It can't be a coincidence. Levis shook his head. It's obvious, this is a provocation. Huagua Water Curtain Group plus War Sect, their intelligence-gathering ability would definitely not be weak. She must have known that Meili was a member of the Crimson Orchid Association. In a situation where you already know the identity of the target, you still plan such an intricate murder. This courage is really not ordinary. As he spoke, Levis frowned. Lotus Sun had given him a show of strength as soon as they arrived in Glio City, forcing him to reconsider his strategy. He knew very well that his current opponents were different from those he had faced in the past. Just half a year ago, the once flourishing Shadow Stream assassin organization had been targeted and wiped out because it had provoked Huagua Water Curtain Group. Thus, they had to be especially cautious and cautious. At that moment, the female secretary saw Levis flipping through files on Shadow Stream and couldn't help asking, "President, what are you worried about?" "Of course I'm worried that we might repeat Shadow Stream's mistakes," Levis said, although the official statement about Shadow Stream says that the person who destroyed this organization was that Audiobook, who has recently risen to fame in Huaxiao Nation. The person who stopped the Demon King from descending 6 years ago. That's him. Levis frowned. But I have a feeling that he's blocking this matter for someone. Of course, these are all my guesses. While he was talking to his secretary, there was an urgent knock on the door. "Come in," said Levis. A security guard in a black suit pushed open the door and entered. "President, there's a nun called Ollie looking for you. She says she has something important to discuss with you." "Nun? Which church?" "St. Peter." "Invite her in." "Yes," the security guard responded and quietly retreated. Less than 2 minutes later, a graceful woman in a black church robe and a veil over her face entered through the door. This nun called Ollie didn't look very old and was about the age of a high school student. She had a very iconic tear-shaped mole at the corner of her eye. However, his every movement exuded a sense of steadiness and mystery, which seemed to greatly deviate from his age. "Hello, President Levis. I'm Nun Ollie of St. Peter's Church. This time, I have something to discuss with you," Lee said. "I don't remember our Crimson Orchid Association having any dealings with St. Peter." Levis stared at Ollie and said, "And my current location is one of the Crimson Orchid Association's secrets. How did you know I was here?" Levis stood up and lit the cigar in his hand. After taking a deep breath, he looked at the nun in front of him and said, "There's only one possibility. You're not here on behalf of St. Peter." "Oh." President Levis's words are quite interesting. "You don't have to pretend in front of me." Levis waved his hand and smiled. "You're the Tengu. Am I right?" "Other than the Tengu, I'm afraid no one else has this kind of information-gathering ability. St. Peter is just your coat. You're working for the Tengu." As expected of the president of the Crimson Orchid Association. The nun called Ollie smiled. "You Tengu are also interesting. In the past, you've always been a wolf hiding in the shadows. Why are you playing openly now? Aren't you afraid that the Prophet will investigate and kill you? Since the enemy is different, we naturally have to change our tactics." Ollie smiled. "I'm here on behalf of the Tengu this time to offer advice to President Levis. We've just received intelligence that a subordinate named Mary has died. That's true. Levis nodded. To tell you the truth, our Tengu is currently looking for an opportunity to target Huagua Water Curtain Group and Battle Sect. We're deeply sorry that your subordinate died, but the truth is that he has already contributed to this matter, said Ollie. Go on. Levis's interest was piqued. It's very simple, Mr. Levis. Our top priority now is to restrict these people from Huagua Water Curtain Group from leaving the country. None, Ollie said. According to Michio's entry and exit regulations, anyone who is accused in the country can't leave Michio's borders. Of course, the other party may be able to escape using a teleportation array, but if they do, it proves that they're guilty. So they have no choice but to stay and clarify the facts. You mean to restrict them all to Glio City? Levis smiled and nodded. Interesting. Glio City is our turf. As long as we can keep them here, it's up to us how we deal with them. If we let them go like this, it'll be hard to deal with them. That's what I mean. Ollie nodded. But from what you're saying, you want to charge them with murder. But Huagua Water Curtain Group's legal team isn't to be trifled with. You don't have to worry about this, President Lee. We've already found information on the truck driver, said Ollie. As long as it's proven that the truck driver was hired by Huagua Water Curtain Group, he'll be charged with murder. And that Miss Sun will be detained in Glio City as a bargaining chip for our negotiation with Battle Sect. Chapter 1786. In a luxurious suite at Glio City's Snail Hotel, Wang Ling, Lotus Sun and the rest of the people from number 60 high school were restricted from leaving Michio Nation, according to the latest instructions from the Glio City Cultivation Police Headquarters. This was mainly aimed at Lotus Sun, and the other people being implicated was mainly a disguised threat to her. I'm sorry, everyone, they're here for me. I wanted to bring everyone out to have some fun, but I didn't expect everyone to be implicated. Lotus Sun blamed herself. If she'd known this would happen, she wouldn't have come all the way here. She hadn't expected to cause trouble for everyone. The most important thing was that she had caused trouble for Wang Ling recently. She felt that her relationship with Wang Ling had improved a little with great difficulty. In the end, something like this had happened today. Who knew if this would lower his impression of her? It's fine, Boss Sun, don't mind it too much. Even if we can't go out, it's good to enjoy good food in the hotel, Super Chen and Hero Gua said one after another. That's right, it's fine, Rongrong. This group of people is just jealous of your family's development. We have plenty of time, I'm sure you can handle it. Li Yuyue also echoed. If they could go out, they would go out to play. If they couldn't, they would just turn on their shut-in mode and stay at home. As for Li Yuyue, it didn't matter as long as she could learn new cuisine. Their attitudes were much better than Lotus Sun had imagined. Thank you for trusting me. I'll resolve this problem as soon as possible. Lotus Sun smiled with relief, then turned to look at Steward Lin next to her. Uncle Lin, what's the situation now? Can we see the truck driver? We're still in communication. The Glio City Cultivation Police Headquarters said that they're still investigating. They've already arranged for a lawyer to meet with the truck driver, but the situation doesn't look good. It's possible that we won't be able to see him at all. Steward Lin frowned. It was clear that this group of people had come prepared, and had deliberately arranged for this to happen by forcibly detaining them. Furthermore, this was a serious crime. If they didn't think of a way to clarify the facts and used other means to slip out of Michio Nation's territory, it might lead to deeper misunderstandings, and it would have an extremely negative impact on Huagua Water Curtain Group and Battle Sect in international public opinion. Wang Ling was naturally aware of the stakes in this matter. He didn't blame her in his heart, because all of this was just an irresistible trend. Back then, he had vigorously pushed grenade-throwing Senior Immortal to establish Battle Sect and supported the latter's cooperation with Huagua Water Curtain Group because he wanted to use Battle Sect as a cover for himself. Now that Battle Sect was growing stronger and stronger, and the attention of cultivators all over the world was focused on it, Wang Ling had expected to encounter a backlash in Glio City. It was just that he hadn't expected the other party to use this kind of method to forcibly detain them. He thought about it carefully for a moment. It seemed that Western cultivators were very popular to use this kind of hostage diplomacy method. No matter what, they had to put a label on you first. As for other things, they could slowly negotiate until one side completely gave in. However, there was no evidence to support this claim. It was the same for the cultivation police in Glio City accusing Lotus Sun of murder. From beginning to end, there was only the truck driver's false testimony. Right now, the worst-case scenario is that truck driver. He's the only witness. If we can't prove that he testified, it'll be hard for us to prove our innocence. Also, if something happens to the truck driver, it'll be even harder for us to explain ourselves. Fang Xing rubbed his chin and analyzed calmly. Classmate Fang is right. Steward Lin nodded. So our Huaguo Water Curtain Group has also applied for a witness protection order, but it's hard to say whether the cultivation police in Glio City will enforce it. These people are xenophobic to begin with, they probably won't listen to us, right? Hiro Gua sighed. I just asked an uncle of mine who works in the cultivation police in Glio City. We were clearly on good terms before, but he didn't tell me anything this time. He told me to stay put, and said that he'd find a way for me to get rid of his connections and return to China. You actually have a foreign uncle? Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Back then, my grandmother had more than 30 children, and my father was the 15th in the family. Now that the Gua family has expanded, my uncles are naturally all over the world. Hearing this, Steward Lin stared blankly for a long time before he continued, Classmate Gua, you're really amazing, but your uncle has his own concerns about not telling you more. Because the power structure in this matter is too complicated. According to the information I've received so far, Glio City's Crimson Orchid Association is leading this matter. This is the largest local mafia, and has several excellent mercenary groups. The president of Crimson Orchid Association, Levis, used to be a famous captain, but he once blocked a giant ship in the canal, causing a huge traffic jam that caused huge economic losses around the world. Later, Levis was fired, and his family property was confiscated as a punishment. His family broke up, and he was thrown into Glio City's prison. Who would have thought that he would make a comeback in prison, and now he's the president of Crimson Orchid Association. But if he's the boss of a mafia, will the authorities in Glio City listen to him obediently? Fang Xing said. That's why things are troublesome. Steward Lin said, it's very likely that the church in Glio City is involved in this matter. In Glio City, the church is the true symbol of power. If the church steps forward and demands that the cultivation police headquarters punish them, we won't be able to do anything even if they're being unreasonable. But what I don't understand now is why our Huaguo Water Curtain Group is being targeted by the church, since we've never had any grudges with them. Could it have something to do with Tengu? At that moment, Wang Miyu raised his hand obediently. Wooden Fish's judgment is correct. And this was exactly what Fang Xing wanted to say. It doesn't make sense for the church to intervene when there's no grudge between them. The only possibility is that Tengu's people might be in the church. They tried to kidnap student Lotus Sun previously, but failed, and tried to shoot down the immortal boat with a missile on her way to Glio City, but failed as well. Now that student Lotus Sun has come to Glio City, it's like putting a bird in a cage. Naturally, they won't miss this opportunity. We'll handle Miss Rongrong's matter. Compared with Miss Rongrong, I'm more worried about your safety, Steward Lin said, then looked at Wang Ling and Wang Muyu. Steward Lin then looked at Wang Ling and Wang Muyu. Before the results are out, student Wang Ling and young Master Makujio, please wait in the hotel and don't go anywhere. These mafias are too much. Student Wang Ling and young Master Makujio are so cute, if you fall into their hands, you might lose something and be sold off by them. Chapter 1787. Steward Lin knew nothing about Wang Ling and Wang Muyu's situation, so it was very normal for him to be worried. Wang Ling sighed deeply in his heart. He actually hoped that this bunch of people would come looking for trouble with him, because then he would be able to bear witness to who was causing trouble for whom. Compared with all this, Wang Ling realized that he was more concerned about Wang Muyu. For some reason, he felt that this little guy, who had caused him so much trouble before, had a particularly magical affinity with him. Although the little guy was strong, he was inexperienced, and Baijia's remote control had given him quite a scare. Wang Muyu, who had combined the 10,000 dragon gene, had limitless potential. But while he was strong, Wang Ling knew that Wang Muyu wasn't fully developed yet. As for Baizhi, it was clear that he wanted to use the powerful ability of his moonlight dragon form to take advantage of the time difference and snatch the little guy back to him. But now that the little guy was so close to him, it wouldn't be so easy to snatch him back. At that moment, many thoughts flashed through Wang Ling's mind. To be honest, he didn't know what would happen next, and could only wait and see. It wasn't easy for everyone to come out, so I think Uncle Lin shouldn't worry too much. These people just want to trap us inside Michio's territory, and then use us as bargaining chips in negotiations with Battle Sect and Huagua Water Curtain Group. They won't pose any threat to us. At that moment, Lotus Sun said, "It wasn't easy for everyone to come out, it's too boring to stay in the hotel." "Miss, they're targeting you, so they might not do anything to you, but the others, it's fine, Uncle Lin. Actually, my Shifu also secretly followed us, and will protect everyone at all times." Wang Ling understood. This Wang Meili, who had been fabricated by Lotus Sun, had now become the new scapegoat for Audiobook for the operation in Glio City. It had to be said that Wang Ling felt that Lotus Sun's move was quite clever, and seemed to have a miraculous effect, as the people hiding behind the heavenly dog in the form of Buddhist sea demon reacted further. There were indeed ancient ones in Battle Sect. But the only ones that Wang Ling had released so far were Li Xian and Zhang Zidi. The rest of the ancient ones numbered more than 10,000, and they were all locked up in the Supreme Corp's winding painting in Wang Ling's possession. If all of them were summoned, an army of ancient ones would be enough to flatten the entire universe and conquer any corner. Thus, Wang Ling had always been suspicious. In the past, Dao ancestor Wang had found all sorts of strange excuses to use the Supreme Corp's painting to suppress the primordial immemorial beasts, collecting them like they were part of his collection. Could it be that besides protecting these primordial immemorial beasts, he also had a purpose of preparing for war? But this was just his wishful thinking. At that moment, Steward Lin's greeting interrupted Wang Ling's wandering thoughts. "Very well, Mr. Wang Ling, and all the students present. If you want to go out, please don't go out alone. It's best to look out for each other. Also, don't go to places that are too far away or remote. It should be safer to stroll around crowded shopping malls." Although the forces in Glio City were complicated, they didn't dare to make a move in broad daylight. Does everyone understand? "Yes, Uncle Lin." The others imitated Lotus Sun's address and shouted. The next day, January 4th, Sunday morning. Wang Ling realized that the news of Lotus Sun's detention had already spread on the internet, and this operation led by the Church of St. Peter had given rise to a whole new reaction. Michio's government had announced that they would restrict Battle Sect and Huagua Water Curtain Group's personnel from entering Michio, and would impose physical sanctions on Huagua Water Curtain Group and Battle Sect. This move was to prevent Battle Sect from sending reinforcements, and directly cut off their path of retreat. So early that morning, Audiobook, who had wanted to go to Glio City, was directly stuck at the border. After returning to the car, Audiobook had a very worried expression on his face. This was because this game was no longer just between sects, but between cultivation countries. If either side took a step back, the other side would take a mile after taking an inch. Even Audiobook couldn't see how this would end. "Shifu, how's the situation?" Zhou Zi asked in the car. "I've been restricted from leaving the country." Not only that, a lot of people in Battle Sect have been restricted as well. Audiobook gripped the steering wheel and said with a slight headache, "I haven't figured out what to do yet. What instructions does Shigong have?" "No new instructions for the time being. After all, there's no need to worry too much about safety. Shifu and his wife are definitely fine. The most recent conversation I had with Shifu was last night." What did Shigong say?" "He said he hoped this matter would be resolved as soon as possible, so that he could hurry back home and take the monthly examination. As expected of Shigong, he loves to learn so much." Speaking up to this point, Audrey didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But how can it be so easy? The forces in Glio City are too complicated. There are mafias, mercenary groups, and all kinds of cultivation sections. The most troublesome thing about this operation is that the local church is involved. I heard Rongrong mention this. Our top priority now is to clear Rongrong's name of suspicion. At that moment, Ryoko Kamiya, who was sitting on the side, said, "It's the mafia organization called Scarlet Orchid Association that is accusing Rongrong of hiring people to kill people, so the key is to start with that organization." When the girl said this, Audrey's eyes suddenly lit up. "By the way, Ryoko, I remember your family's 6th madam, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Because of 6th madam, our family has some connections in the mafia." Ryoko Kamiya said, "If you send me abroad, I might be able to help. I'm not on the sanctions list, so I can go out normally." "No, it's too dangerous." Audrey's first reaction was to refuse. He really couldn't bear to let Ryoko Kamiya go. "With Wang Ling and Rongrong around, I'm not afraid. What are you afraid of?" Ryoko Kamiya said, "The top priority now is to get Rongrong and the others back. If you're worried, you can find someone to go with me. For example, Senior Golden Lamp, Senior Li Xian, and Senior Zhang Zipi. None of them will work. They're already registered on Battle Sec's official website. Their names are on the list this time." Audrey shook his head and said, "If it really doesn't work, I'll have to ask Senior Qin Zong and Senior Xiang Yi to go with you. They haven't registered yet, it shouldn't be a problem for them to sneak in with you. Also, you have to arrange an identity for them." "That's easy. I'll arrange it right away." Ryoko Kamiya nodded. She was about to take out her cell phone to contact the relevant personnel when she saw Audrey slowly stretch out his hand, and an emerald green bamboo sword suddenly came into view. "Ryoko, I'll lend you this sword now. Glio City is very complicated. If you're alone, you can protect yourself with this sword." Chapter 1788. Seeing that Audrey was going to give her advance for self-defense, Ryoko's nose immediately turned sour. "What will you do if you give it to me?" "I'll be fine. Senior Golden Lamp, Senior Li Xian and Senior Zhang Zipi can't get out anyway, so they'll be responsible for my safety. The most important thing right now is you." Audrey took Ryoko's hand and then kissed her gently on the forehead. "Glio City is very complicated. Keep in touch, and be careful. Nothing is more important than your own safety. You have to protect yourself. If someone bullies you, I'll drag them out myself when my entry and exit restrictions are lifted." I understand." Ryoko nodded and kissed Audrey's cheek back. Zhou Zi was left behind, shivering as he ate the dog food. Ryoko knew that this operation wasn't going to be that simple, because it had escalated to a game between cultivation countries, and was no longer a contest between forces or sections. She hadn't completely digested the whole thing, and had only learned the gist of it from Audrey's words. At the same time, she was well aware that if the Ryoko family got involved, the most dangerous situation would be that the entire Ryoko family would become a sacrifice in the struggle between cultivation countries. But Ryoko wasn't afraid. Despite all the previous conflicts between her and Lotus Sun, the Ryoko family had now formed an alliance with Hwagwa Water Curtain Group. As the leader of the Ryoko family, she was also one of their allies, so she naturally couldn't sit idly by. Ryoko didn't know where she got the courage to face all this, but the moment she saw Audrey's distress, she suddenly felt an impulse. She suddenly realized that she really did like Audrey, and even more than she had imagined. At the headquarters of the Crimson Orchid Association, President Levis was gloating over the success of his plan. With the help of the Church of St. Peter, his plan to use the bribed truck driver to successfully accuse Lotus Sun, the eldest daughter of Hwagwa Water Curtain Group, of murder had been a huge success. To be honest, even Levis hadn't expected things to go so smoothly. "I knew the church was strong, but I didn't expect it to be able to cover the sky with one hand." In the president's office, Levis smoked a cigar as he unabashedly praised the church's nun Ali, who was under Tengu's command. "This is just the initial cooperation. If President Levis is interested in the Tengu, you can become a member of the Tengu. Nun Ali smiled lightly. Levis laughed out loud. It's not impossible to join the Tengu, but I'll have to think about it. After all, I had never wanted to be a dog before. But now, it seems that having a strong backer behind you is also a kind of fun. Compared to that, I'm more curious about what Tengu will do next. Also, who is the great senior behind your heavenly hound? As for the senior standing behind us, we'll know once guild leader Levis thinks things through and joins us. Sister Ali replied expressionlessly, but we can share our next action plan with you unconditionally. Oh? Tell me about it. As far as we know, the conflict between the Crimson Orchid Association and the Huagua Water Curtain Group is nothing more than the snail shell's unwillingness to pay the protection fee after it changed owners. As a result, the Crimson Orchid Association has lost an economic chain that can continuously receive funds. Then, does President Levis know why the Huagua Water Curtain Group suddenly bought the snail shell, and why the young lady of the Huagua Water Curtain Group suddenly came all the way to Glio City? Levis frowned at these words, and he chuckled. It's not strange for the young lady of a financial group to want to go anywhere. She's still studying at a cultivation school called Number 60 High, but she suddenly ran overseas at this time. According to our investigation, it's actually for a child, Sister Ali said. Furthermore, according to our current reliable information, she's invited a lot of her classmates to Glio City this time. The child's father might be among them. Hearing this, Levis was so scared that he almost dropped his cigar. His eyes abruptly widened in disbelief, and he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Is this true? He didn't doubt Tengu's ability to gather intelligence. This was currently the most famous intelligence-gathering organization in the world. Furthermore, Tengu, which was represented by Sister Ali, was part of Tengu's core team. The rate of error in intelligence was almost negligible. Are all the young ladies of financial groups so fancy nowadays? How old are they? This is just the information we've gathered so far. But we still need to verify it. But the child and the child's father are both on this trip, and we've restricted them to Glio City for now. We'll know once we catch them all and question them one by one. Or maybe we don't even need to do anything ourselves, we can just collect some DNA samples in secret and get the corresponding evidence. Sister Ali said, there are many ways, but President Levis will need to make arrangements for the rest. It's not convenient for us, Tengu, to step in for the time being. President Levis's arrangements for the entertainment venues in Glio City can be described as taking advantage of both the black and the white. I believe that President Levis will give us a satisfactory answer for our cooperation. Levis frowned. But there's still a risk, isn't there? I remember that there's a hidden expert beside the young lady of the Huagua Water Curtain Group. It seems that President Lee knows a lot. Sister Ali said, in fact, we, Tengu, have decided not to take action for now because of this reason. That expert is someone sent by the battle sect. His name is Wang Meili. But so far, we don't have any immigration records of Miss Wang Meili. Did she sneak in? Levis asked. That's just one of the possibilities. Sister Ali said, there's another possibility, which is that this Wang Meili is actually one of the classmates that Miss Sun brought with her this time. In other words, President Lee's next mission is not only to find the child's father, but also to help us lure out the hidden Miss Wang Meili. It doesn't matter if she sneaks in or hides inside. President Lee, you must catch these two wolves. I'll try my best. Levis smiled. He didn't expect that this situation would turn into a werewolf massacre in the end. Chapter 1789. In the beginning, Levis admitted that he had only wanted to discuss the Huagua Water Curtain Group. He knew that the Scarlet Orchid Association's strength was not enough to topple such a huge organization that was gaining momentum. Moreover, it might bring about a disaster of death. Therefore, he could only think of ways to discuss the other party and find a way for the Scarlet Orchid Association to survive in Glio City. But now, with the involvement of Tengu's forces, with the support of the largest cultivation country, all kinds of forces swarmed in. The clergy of the church, the cultivation countries, all of them revolved around the grudge between the Crimson Orchid Association and the Huagua Water Curtain Group. Compared to simply disgust people, there was nothing more exciting than watching a huge financial group fall like a sun that had lost its energy. Moreover, Levis thought that moving to the Huagua Water Curtain Group would definitely cause a chain reaction, and even the battle sect would be affected. A financial group and a super sect. Just thinking about the scene of both sides falling gave Levis a thrilling feeling. This battle was no different from the 6 major sects besieging the Light Summit, the only difference was the ending. Levis thought that they had a high chance of winning. The Scarlet Orchid Association had developed in Glio City for so many years, relying on illegal transactions to accumulate their capital. In these 2 years, Levis had gradually realized that this was not a long-term plan. If he wanted the Scarlet Orchid Association to develop in the long run, he had to slowly get rid of the mafia and start transforming. And now, in front of him was a great opportunity. With Tengu's influence and spies all over the world, if he could perform outstandingly in this operation, the Scarlet Orchid Association could be cleansed under his leadership. Ali, do you know why I've been making arrangements in so many industries all these years? Levis took a deep breath and stood in front of the large floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the drizzling rain outside. Tengu, you know everything. Sister Ali said expressionlessly, President Levis, as long as you cooperate with us sincerely, helping the Scarlet Orchid Association transform is a piece of cake. All right. Since it's not convenient for you to show up for the time being, I'll do the hunting and fishing for the wolves. Levis looked at Sister Ali and said in a low voice, but this will be the last time. Of course. Sister Ali nodded. I just hope that President Levis will not be swayed. Wavering? Levis smiled. Don't worry, I'm a mature businessman. Will not do the treacherous thing. The Crimson Orchid Association has developed for so many years, but I am the only leader. My brothers are all willing to follow me. Sister Ali should know what kind of person I am. Of course. I don't mean anything else. I'm just reminding you. Sister Ali said, as far as we know, the eldest daughter of the Kuya family, Kuya Ryoko, is already on her way to Glio City. Because she is not a member of the war sect, she is not restricted from entering the country. Oh, it's her. Levis suddenly realized. I have some impression of this little girl. Rumor had it that she had a falling out with Miss Sun of the Huagua Water Curtain Group. Later, the 2 families formed an alliance. I thought they were just putting on a show to stabilize their stock prices. I didn't expect Miss Jiogong to be willing to wade into these muddy waters. That's not surprising, according to the intelligence we received. Miss Kamiya Yoshiko and a core member of the battle sect are Dao companions, but as for who it is, we are still investigating. Understood. Levis nodded. He already knew what was going on. In his eyes, this was just a little girl. Whether it was the Kuya family or the Sun family, no matter how strong these 2 financial groups were, Glio City was their territory. Facing these 2 naive little girls, Levis was confident that he could defeat them, until they were beyond redemption. At 9:00 in the morning, an armed bus specially prepared for the number 60 high school group appeared at the entrance of Snail Hotel. Steward Lin had urgently mobilized it last night. As the name implied, it was a bus armed to the teeth. The bus's glass was specially made, and not only was it bulletproof, but it was also explosion-proof. The most important thing was that the bus was equipped with an amphibious system, which could run, dive and fly. Apart from that, the roof was equipped with a spirit power barrier, an anti-missile system and a defense system. Staring at this gaudy configuration, Wang Ling couldn't help sighing in his heart. But when he thought about it carefully, Steward Lin wasn't in the know, so there really wasn't much he could do. When the enemy became ruthless, they would go crazy. Nowadays, all the gangsters were at the Soul Formation realm, which directly reduced the overall mystery and quality of the Soul Formation realm to the price of cabbages. Although these people weren't worth mentioning in front of Wang Ling, ordinary defense measures were ineffective against Soul Formation realm cultivators. He didn't think these safety measures were of any use, but it seemed that they could at least provide some psychological comfort to Steward Lin. Steward Lin had also drawn up the travel plans last night, and tried to find places with as many people as possible. Their first stop was Wolf, which he hadn't been able to visit before. Yesterday, he hadn't been able to buy the "No one knows crispy noodle snacks gift bag better than me," so today's first stop was here, which made him very satisfied. Everyone, buy whatever you want, not just snacks, just take whatever you want. The most important thing in life is to be happy. Lotus Sun, who had reactivated her rich woman mode, smiled. As she spoke, Wang Ling could feel the girl's entire body glow. Furthermore, it was the kind of radiance of a female bodhisattva who delivered all living beings from suffering. This armed bus didn't have a driver, and it used the smart driving mode of the Big Dipper navigation system. It was safe and stable, and although it looked cumbersome, it actually operated very smoothly, giving people a very safe feeling. Wang Ling sat in the last row of the bus, and Wang Miyu sat obediently on Wang Ling's lap. Lotus Sun couldn't help but be envious of this scene. She knew that normal people wouldn't get this kind of treatment. Wang Miyu was the only one who could. If it was anyone else, Wang Ling would definitely push them off. AI, Wang Ling and his little brother are really close. Hero Gua couldn't help sighing emotionally at this scene. Really, let's not talk about little brother. I think it wouldn't be strange for Miyu to call Wang Ling daddy. Super Chin spread his hands. Wang Ling, as the armed bus drove on the highway, Wang Ling, who had been sitting peacefully in the back, suddenly sensed that something wasn't right about the route. He had already been to Wolf once, and knew the route very well. In the end, the armed bus seemed to be taking the long way. Uncle Lin, are we going off course? Why do I feel like we're going further and further away? The two of them were telepathically connected, and Lotus Sun quickly sensed that something wasn't right. Steward Lin's forehead was beaded with sweat. After checking the navigation system, his expression changed drastically. Oh no. Why can't I control the autopilot? He cried out in alarm, startling everyone in the bus. This navigation system isn't right either. It's not the Big Dipper navigation system at all. I clearly installed the Big Dipper navigation system. At that moment, a clear, sly, and annoying electronic voice came from inside the armed bus. Hello. Wicked Navigation, at your service. Chapter 1790. In the office of the Crimson Orchid Association, Levis used a huge satellite telescope to remotely monitor the situation in front of him. The armored bus that he had tampered with was moving forward according to the original plan. Tengu really has eyes and ears everywhere. Even Huagua Water Curtain Group has Tengu's people. Levis smiled proudly. They're already cautious enough. They've brought along old employees who won't betray us easily. But we can use some means to replace those people without anyone noticing. Imitate their daily habits and looks, no one will be able to tell. Sister Ollie said. In another 20 minutes, they will follow the navigation system I deployed and directly cross that area, Levis snorted. As long as they pass through there, whether it's the Huagua Water Curtain Group or the War Sect, it will be a huge problem that they will not be able to solve. When the wicked navigation system beeped, Butler Lin immediately knew that someone had tampered with the armored bus. Everything was still normal during the inspection last night. He even personally tested the navigation system to ensure that everything was correct before getting out of the car. Moreover, he had arranged for the commissioner of Huagua Water Curtain Group to protect him throughout the night. When Steward Lin thought of this, he suddenly had a flash of inspiration. If the weaponized bus's system was still modified under such circumstances, it could only mean that there was a mole from Tengu among the two employees he had arranged to keep an eye on him last night. Steward Lin facepalmed. He never thought that this trip abroad would not only turn into a confrontation between the cultivation countries, but also a spy war. Isn't this a bit too exciting? Miss and students, don't worry. I'll stop the car right away, Butler Lin said. There's no hurry, Uncle Lin. The bus can stop at any time. Right now, the most important thing to figure out is why they tampered with the system, Lotus Sun said. Butler Lin slapped his forehead. That's right. Miss is right. Let me see. After saying that, he stared fixedly at the route on the screen of this wicked navigation system and frowned deeply. I remember this direction is Mishio's Cultivation Army Garrison Base in Glio City? Oh no. It seems that they want to force our armored bus into the military base. When the time comes, they will exaggerate and report this action, and it will be interpreted as a provocation. The problems we are facing will become international disputes. And you're even on the side of disrespect. The other party's methods were more sinister than he had imagined. He had come to Glio City for 2 days just to use his world snack voucher. In the end, the mastermind behind all this wouldn't even give him this chance, which was already unbearable for him. He had never advocated making the first move, but at this time, he felt that he had no choice but to issue a warning to the other side. Dad? At that moment, Wang Muyu transmitted his voice to Wang Ling. He deliberately called out to Wang Ling, but realized that Wang Ling had no intention of responding. He knew what was going to happen next. It was obvious that Wang Ling was going to make a move. Wang Muyu was sitting on Wang Ling's lap. Although he couldn't hear the voice in Wang Ling's heart, he could feel the anger emanating from this crispy noodle maniac daddy's slightly trembling fingers. Then, Wang Muyu sensed a deep light flicker in Wang Ling's king's eye. This was a kind of eye-summoning ritual, as if something terrible was being summoned. Sigh, this group of people, why did they have to provoke such a monster? Just as the armed bus was less than 10 kilometers away from the garrison base, the ground started to shake, and an enormous, unscalable black mountain rose up from the cracked earth in front of them, roaring incessantly. What is this? Everyone in the garrison base was shocked when they saw this scene. They were all outstanding soldiers with strong enough mental fortitude, but in the face of this sudden situation, they still couldn't help their legs turning to jelly. This giant beast, which had been born directly from the earth, was too terrifying. Its pitch-black back was like a row of mountains, and it flickered with a demonic light. Roar! The tremendous roar created a hurricane that blew everything in front of it into the sky. The ground cracked open, and countless trees were uprooted as they swept across the land in front of them. What is this? Steward Lin and the rest of the people on the bus were stupefied as they stared in shock at the giant beast in front of them attacking the garrison base. On the bus, everyone was discussing the situation. Is it a demon beast? No way, didn't the demon world coexist peacefully with us now? It's definitely not a demon beast. I can sense very strong spirit power from this big guy, and it doesn't mean us any harm at all, said Super Chin. Anyone with a keen sense of spirit energy could sense that this giant beast, which had suddenly risen from the earth, didn't have the slightest bit of demonic nature, but was instead filled with extremely powerful spirit power. It surpassed all the current spirit beasts on earth. But it was still a distance away from holy beasts and divine beasts. Wang Ling had still held back. It was just a small punishment. Otherwise, given his ability, any holy beast or divine beast he summoned would be enough to flatten a cultivation country. The giant beast in front of them was the one he had summoned from the hole in the earth's core using the power of the king's eye. It had never appeared on the surface, so most cultivators had no idea what it was. Although there were a lot of hypotheses about the hole in the earth's core in the world, no one had ever been there. The reason why Wang Ling was certain that such a place existed was because he had once made the spirit of the earth cry. The world of the hole in the earth's core was enormous. The spirit beast that Wang Ling had summoned now was over 100 feet long, but it was just a cub inside. Before it had been summoned here, this geocentric behemoth cub had been having a meal with its mother, but in the next instant, it had been sucked into the world on the surface. This gave this geocentric behemoth an indescribable sense of fear. Thus, the moment it appeared, it wasn't just the people in the military base who were startled, even the giant beast itself was startled. It spread its legs and stomped in the direction of the base in front of it. In that instant, the entire Mishio cultivation military base in Glio City panicked. Although Wang Ling's armed bus had already appeared on their radar signal, it had now been completely overshadowed by this giant beast that had suddenly appeared. Hurry and report to the colonel. A giant beast is attacking. And there's no record of it in the database. It came out of the ground like a bamboo shoot. Reporting, sir. We have to give it a name. Idiot. A commander in the base shouted, since it came out like a bamboo shoot, let's call it a bamboo shoot monster. Reporting, sir. Then what about the signal from the armed bus that we captured earlier? It can go wherever it wants. Our home is about to be torn down, and you still have the mood to care about this? The base commander rubbed his head, feeling a headache coming on. At the same time, on the other side, Levis, the president of Crimson Orchid Society, who had captured this scene through a satellite telescope, and next to him, Sister Ollie couldn't help gaping. Chapter 1791. The sudden appearance of the geocentric behemoth plunged Glio City into an unforeseen event. Pure blue energy surged from its body, and its mountain-like back flickered continuously, giving off a savage aura. Powerful spiritual pressure blotted out the sky and earth, and apart from Wang Ling's side, everyone on the ground was under immense pressure. A catastrophe was coming, and the garrison base had no choice but to react quickly to defend itself. In one moment, several fighter jets took off from the base to meet the geocentric behemoth, and spirit power missiles streaked past from all directions with an ear-piercing screech as they scraped against the air. The geocentric behemoth frowned slightly. It roared in a low voice and opened up a space to form a world of its own. In the end, all these spirit power missiles crashed into the barrier it had set up. It didn't take the initiative to attack. Standing in front of the garrison base, it was an active deterrent, but also seemed to be guarding something. The sky and earth trembled with unimaginable might. What on earth is it trying to do, stand in the street? No, there's no way such a big behemoth would come out of the ground just to scare us. Is it because its arms are too short and it can't throw a left jab at us? That's even more impossible. In short, it hasn't taken the initiative to attack us yet, so it's best if we don't do anything. Their spirit power missiles were ineffective to begin with, and continuing to fire them was nothing more than a waste of ammunition. Pilots were more realistic, and had to consider the actual situation. After all, in Ultraman, it was always Ultraman's light waves that killed the monsters in the end, not the fighter jet's missiles. Apart from Ultraman's ultimate move at the end, the earlier scenes of fighter jets attacking the monsters were nothing more than a joke, and from an obscure point of view, it was telling the audience that using missiles to hit the monsters was a lonely fight. Since the geocentric behemoth hadn't taken the initiative to attack, the garrison base stopped its next round of attacks. At the same time, everyone was trying to figure out what this behemoth's real intentions were. Where had it come from? Why had it suddenly launched an attack here? When would reinforcements arrive? These were all questions. Looking at the current outcome, it was clear that this was a standoff. As for how long the standoff would last, no one could predict. At that moment, the armed bus Wang Ling was on was moving backward, and only stopped to watch from a distance after it reached a safe position. It wasn't that the armored bus had regained control, but that the immoral navigation system had acted spontaneously. The wicked navigation system contained AI to begin with, and Wang Ling had realized early on that while this wicked navigation system was wicked, it was extremely afraid of death. Therefore, he directly summoned such a giant geocentric beast to block the entrance of the garrison base. It had no choice but to retreat and maintain a safe distance. So you're also afraid of death? Fang Xing sat at the very front. He folded his arms and stared at the steering wheel of the bus. The immoral navigation system did not reply. Fang Xing, what are you doing, talking to a GPS? Asked Hiro Gua. This isn't an ordinary navigation, but one with artificial intelligence, said Fang Xing. Look, after the behemoth appeared, the armed bus kept retreating. This only proves one thing, it's scared. I see. Hiro Gua nodded. However, this guy is still pretending to be dead. He refuses to cooperate and doesn't say a word. I wonder if you guys have any way to deal with him. That's easy. I'm familiar with torturing the system. Hiro Gua laughed sinisterly. Then, he turned on the monitor in the armored bus, pulled out the connection device, and took out a black USB flash drive from his pocket. What's this? Asked Lotus Sunday. It's known as the deep sea bomb in the system world. It was originally taught to me by an uncle. Hirogwa said, it's installed with Ting Sun Computer Butler, Chindu Security Assistant, 361 Security Guard and Silver Mountain Poison Tyrant, these 4 major security software giants, as well as 214 types of computer antivirus security software, Wang Ling, Lotus Sun, Feng Xing, Super Chen and Li Yuyue, Hirogwa. It's fine if there's only one antivirus software installed, but if it's installed and run at the same time, something terrible will happen. Haven't you ever wondered what would happen if you let these antivirus software kill themselves? Hearing this, the immoral navigation system couldn't help trembling a little. As a newly born AI, it had yet to properly experience the splendor, prosperity and beauty of the boundless world, and didn't want to die just like that. If so many antivirus software were installed in its body at the same time, even the immoral navigation system itself couldn't imagine what would happen. If that really happened, these antivirus software might directly follow the system and cause its core to collapse. Too terrifying. Woo woo woo. These people had no hearts. Were they all demons? Just as Hirogwa was about to insert the USB drive, the immoral navigation system finally couldn't take the pressure and said, "Wait, young hero. Let's talk. Don't do it. If you insert it without a care, I'll die of pain. Everyone, the immoral navigation system, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. As long as you don't stuff weird things into my body." That's right. That's right. It's Crimson Orchid Association who ordered me to do this. The president is called Levis. He's also my dad. Dad? Because he's my developer, he has several wives and leads a promiscuous life. He's an out-and-out PUA scumbag. Young heroes, please be sure to annihilate him. Everyone in the armed bus was horrified. Good heavens, a benevolent father and a filial son. At the same time, a man with long blonde hair and wearing a dark blue uniform and white trousers appeared on the horizon. His clothes fluttered in the wind as he trod on the wind. Reinforcements are here. It's General Mikathai, someone at the garrison cried out in alarm. This was the army general of Mishio's main cultivation army. Mikathai. He was a legendary figure in Mishio Nation. He was famous as a strategic commander genius who had never lost a battle in his life. He had reached true immortal realm a long time ago, and had cultivated to the peak of 9th peak. Now that Earth had upgraded, there were no longer any restrictions on his combat strength, and no one knew how high this legendary general's realm had risen. Evil creature. He descended from the firmament, his whole body radiating a golden light like a sun god, and there was a kind of arrogance in his eyes. Mikathai had been in seclusion for a period of time after his upgrade on Earth. He had just come out of seclusion, and the opponent in front of him was this behemoth that had appeared out of nowhere, which made him feel excited all over. Today, I'm here. I don't care who sent you here, along with the person behind you, I will definitely eliminate you, he shouted. In the next second, the dark blue uniform behind him was enveloped in a ring of flames, like a golden crow. Everyone knew that the flames of war were about to rise, and a battle between a legendary figure and a behemoth was about to begin. Chapter 1792. Looking at the face of Mishio's legendary general in the air, everyone from number 60 high school seemed to recall the black and white photo of this man printed in the history books in old antiques theory of cultivation class. So this is my Kawasi. He does look a little similar to the photo, but why does it feel a little different? He looks a lot younger. Li Yuyue covered her little mouth in surprise. Although there had been youth-retaining spells in that era, there hadn't been any heaven-defying beautification technology like there was now. The black and white photo of General Michael ACI in the history books was an authentic representation of the general's all-powerful appearance back then. But compared to now, Michael ACI did indeed look a lot younger. It was probably because he had cultivated a youth-retaining technique or taken beautifying elixirs. After all, he was a legendary general. There was nothing wrong with cultivating him as an idol. In this era where looks were everything, having a perpetually youthful face seemed to be more popular. When all was said and done, not everyone had the confidence to be like Huashio's Blade Master, Battle Saint, and the other 8 great generals, who relied on their demeanor and unparalleled achievements to leave their names etched in history. The beauty of one's face could never conceal the brilliance of one's soul. Wang Ling didn't know how long it would be before he grew old, but if he really did grow old one day, he felt that he probably wouldn't use any other means to fix his appearance. He didn't have many requests in this regard to begin with. In all things, going with nature was the eternal and unchanging truth. It was just that not everyone thought that way. The modern cultivation world was very different from before. In an era of ever-changing profit models, even a legendary general like Michael ACI couldn't avoid becoming a tool to consolidate his social and financial status. It was true that Michael ACI was a genius, but if a cultivator's heart was tainted, it would be hard for him to achieve anything in the end. At that moment, the moment Myoxi transformed into the Golden Crow, Wang Ling and Wang Muyu simultaneously noticed that over 100 electronic eyes had surrounded them from all directions. These were the electronic eyes that Michael ACI had set up. He was confident that he could defeat the geocentric behemoth, so he planned to record it as video evidence to promote his reputation in the future. In the sky, the golden light that covered his body merged with the sun, as if they had become one. The blazing light finally condensed into a golden ripple in the center of his palm. Ripple sprint, huh? Wang Muyu frowned. He could sense that this was a spell that extracted the flames of a star. However, Mikoxi's mastery of this spell was not mature. It was obvious that he had only recently developed it. Machi's current display was actually a way for him to show off his muscles to the world in coordination with the electronic eye. Looking at this scene, Wang Muyu muttered disinterestedly, "It's far from the ripple scamper. The true ripple sprint technique could cause the light waves emitted to be equivalent to the temperature of the sun's core." However, the current temperature of Michael's body was not even a third of the temperature of the sun's core. Perhaps he could show off his muscles on Earth. But in the eyes of a true expert, it was child's play. It could only be called the little sun fist. "Daddy, when are you going to show me? Let him see the real ripple sprint?" At that moment, Wang Muyu, who was sitting on Wang Ling's lap, transmitted his voice and looked at him expectantly. Wang Ling, even if he wanted to show it, he couldn't do it on Earth. He indeed knew this move of Mikoxi's, and it was hundreds of millions of times more powerful than Mikoxi's. But the problem was that if he used this move on Earth, the spirits of Earth might not be able to take it. Now, it wasn't just the spirits of Earth, the spirits of the other planets in the universe were very dissatisfied with their actions. Furthermore, many of them had written letters of complaint to the Heavenly Tao Governing Committee. It wasn't Wang Ling who was complaining, but Wang Ying. Wang Ling realized that Wang Ying had great stamina. He used the planetary wall-thumping spell on Sun Yinger at 8:00 every night without fail. "Evil creature, I'll show you my prowess today." At that moment, when Mikoxi had finished charging up his power, the blazing light waves in the air finally turned into a flaming dragon that shot toward the geocentric behemoth. Boom! From a distance, the flaming dragon that shot out of Mikoxi's palm looked like a walking laser cannon, which pierced through the geocentric behemoth's energy wall on the spot. "There's hope." As expected of General Mikoxi. Countless soldiers in the base cried out in alarm. Mikoxi's first attack had successfully pierced through the energy wall, which instantly boosted their confidence. The geocentric behemoth roared in pain after being blocked by the energy wall. It didn't die right away, but the thick leather armor on its body burned fiercely under the orange flames. The poor geocentric behemoth stretched out its little claws in an attempt to slap out the flames, and then rolled on the ground to douse them. "Evil creature, no matter who summoned you, you're definitely going to die today." Mikoxi laughed. There was a hint of arrogance in his relaxed tone as he prepared to launch his second attack. Wang Ling felt that it was about time. He had his own plans. The purpose of summoning the geocentric behemoth was to put on a show. After all, this geocentric behemoth was just a cub, so it was normal that it couldn't withstand Mikoxi's attack. If Wang Ling had summoned an adult geocentric behemoth, given Mikoxi's current battle strength, he would probably have been beaten to a pulp. He secretly used his power of sight, and just as Mekaxi's second shot was about to hit the geocentric behemoth, he used the reverse summoning spell to send the geocentric behemoth back to the core world. At the same time, he used the burned skin of the geocentric behemoth to form a red orchid mark on the ground. All of this was done in an instant. It looked as if the geocentric behemoth had been directly blown up by Mekaxi's second shot and evaporated on the spot. When the smoke dissipated, the red orchid imprint on the ground entered Maishi's sight. "This is..." In the air, Mekaxi stared at the red orchid mark and frowned slightly. He felt that it looked familiar, but couldn't remember what it was. He then waved his hand to bring the nearest electronic eye to his side, and started to scan the image on the ground. Very quickly, an electronic voice rang out in Mekaxi's ears. "Scarlet Orchid Association," my ACI remembered. This was the mafia organization from Griot City. It turned out that this behemoth had been summoned by this mafia organization. These damn guys, how dare they? He immediately faced the soldiers at the military base below. "All troops, listen up." "Yes." The soldiers swiftly lined up in a square formation in response. Mekaxi snorted. "Pass down my order, purge Scarlet Orchid Association from Griot City. All Scarlet Orchid Association members are to be executed on the spot. Leave no one alive." "But General, executing them on the spot, this seems to be against the rules." "What do you know?" Mekaxi said arrogantly with an awe-inspiring air of righteousness. "Rules are meant to be broken. At this moment, in the name of Mekaxi, I have made a decision that goes against the wishes of my ancestors. This is for the greater good of mankind. To eradicate evil." Chapter 1793. Because of Michael Assey's sudden attack, the entire Tengu of the Wisdom Tree fell into temporary chaos. That lunatic Michael ACI, he's actually going to make a move on Scarlet Orchid Association. Doesn't he know that Scarlet Orchid Association is acting on behalf of the church? Furthermore, Levis is the representative of Scarlet Orchid Association to accuse Lotus Sunday. If he's killed, the accusation won't stand. As the highest-ranking Tengu present, Lord Ba, who wore the 8-star Jason mask, was also twitching slightly under his mask. He had always kept his cool, and rarely trembled in anger. But at this moment, he had to admit that he was infuriated by Michael Assey's miraculous operation. "What should we do, Lord 8? How should we deal with this matter now?" someone asked. Lord Mina took a deep breath and did his best to adjust his emotions. Then, he slowly said, "Although Michael ACI is an out-and-out scoundrel, we can't directly clash with him for now. Generally speaking, Michael ACI wouldn't be able to interfere in this matter. He was the commander-in-chief of the main cultivation army, and the army headquarters wasn't in Griot City. Judging from Michael Assey's operation this time, he had just happened to be passing by and had come to the rescue. Lord 8 had never expected Michael ACI to actually interfere in this matter. Our Tengu has spies in the army, but Michael ACI is very cunning. He's always been on guard when it comes to counterintelligence work. Personnel in the army base are mobilized almost every day, and it's extremely difficult for our comrades to carry out their work there," said Lord 8. In fact, this was the reason why the Tengu hadn't been able to do anything to Michael ACI so far. They could even infiltrate the church, but they hadn't been able to do anything to Michael Assey's army. Moreover, Michael ACI was an exception. Although the church's authority covered most of the government, it couldn't reach Michael ACI. Currently, Michio's army only listened to Michael ACI. According to the Tengu's original plan, they had wanted Wang Ling and the others to drive into the army base branch and provoke Michael ACI. Who would have thought that they would go for wool and come home shorn? Instead, Michael ACI had set his sights on Scarlet Orchid Association, which was currently on the church's side and working with them. Come to think of it, why did that giant beast turn into Scarlet Orchid Association's logo after it died? This doesn't make sense at all. However, the Tengu were not in the mood to think about these problems. Their top priority now was to resolve the matter of Michael Osti and prevent the conflict from escalating. I made a mistake in this matter as well. I didn't expect my Koasi to get involved. We should ask our brothers from the church to inform Michael in advance. Master Ba, go and greet them now. I'm afraid it's already too late. Michael ACI has always been a proud and confident man. He would never revoke his orders. Then what should we do? We can only try to communicate with them first. At the very least, we can protect Levis and prevent Michael's forces from attacking him. Master Ba said with a headache, but this isn't a bad thing. At the very least, it was obvious that the Battles sect had indeed sent experts over to protect them. Or maybe one of the high school students on the armored bus is Wang Meili. High school student? No way. Maybe he's just borrowing the identity of a high school student. Master Ba said, otherwise, there's no way to explain why such a huge beast would suddenly appear in front of the garrison base branch. Furthermore, after it died, its remains formed the shape of Scarlet Orchid Association's logo. Saying this, he couldn't help sighing. I underestimated these people's methods. This move of diverting trouble is very good. But it won't be so easy to sow discord among us and cause internal strife like this. It's time for venerated Emperor's Senior Immemorial One to take action. Although there are only 5 of them in the first batch, it's already enough to give them a hard time. I want to see how this Wang Meili plans to deal with them. Under the accusation of the immoral navigation system, Wang Ling had been quick-witted to divert trouble and successfully set up a conflict between Michael ACI and Scarlet Orchid Association. If things had gone smoothly, as long as Levis was killed by Michael ACI, the accusations against Lotus Sun from the Glio government would naturally vanish like smoke. Furthermore, Lotus Sun wouldn't be the one to blame for Levis's death, and no one would think that she had ordered Michael ACI to kill Levis. Because everyone knew what kind of person Michael ACI was. What he valued the most was his reputation. As a legendary general of Mishio Nation, there was no way he would listen to the orders of a big miss of a financial group and kill a mafia boss. Of course, Wang Ling still didn't know if things would go as smoothly as he had expected. Tengu had eyes and ears everywhere. It wouldn't be difficult for them to use some means to protect Levis. On the other hand, Tengu's influence had already infiltrated the church. If they wanted to completely resolve this matter, the best way was to break up the relationship between the church and Tengu, so that the church and Michael ACI would share a common hatred for a common enemy and turn their guns on Tengu. They just needed to watch from the sidelines as these people fought each other in their own territory. They were suspicious of each other and transferred their conflicts to each other. This was a living Western house of cards. Wang Ling had thought that these things could only be seen in TV dramas, but the truth was that they really existed in reality. Young heroes, where do you want to go now? I'll cooperate. At that moment, the wicked navigation asked. He was already afraid. Under the threat of Hirogwa's USB drive, he had no choice but to compromise with number 60 high. In fact, it wasn't that the wicked navigation hadn't collected information on number 60 high before carrying out this mission. Back then, it had a feeling that these high school students wouldn't be easy to deal with. Based on historical observation data. In this half a year's time. Shadow Stream, Immortal Mansion, Devil Emperor Guapai, Yicha, all sorts of evil forces big and small inside and outside Washio Nation had already been destroyed by number 60 high. It might not seem like it had anything to do with number 60 high, but in fact, everything was connected to it. Hence, the wicked navigation had thought that this operation wouldn't go smoothly, and that something might happen. In the end, it had been proven right. Sometimes, the analysis of big data was very useful. It was just that the wicked navigation hadn't figured out which of the people in number 60 high was the hidden expert. Now, it could only feign civility and surrender, and secretly gather information. When the time was right, it would send the information back to Levis. Chapter 1794. The wicked navigation took a moment to fill in the blanks. It thought that its fake surrender wouldn't be detected, but as an AI that already had the ability to think, Wang Ling would still be able to hear every single one of its little schemes. It wasn't just Wang Ling, everyone, including Wang Muyu and Lotus Sun, knew what the wicked navigation was up to. However, they were smart enough to pretend that nothing had happened. Daddy, Is this navigation system stupid? Wang Muyu sent a voice transmission. To be honest, Wang Muyu was speechless at the immoral navigation system. It was just a navigation system. Even if it was made into an anime, it wouldn't have any image. At most, it would just find a voice actor. But why did this wicked navigation system like to add scenes for itself? Wang Ling made a shushing gesture as a hint for Wang Muyu to stay put for now. Wang Muyu understood, then turned his little head toward the window and asked, "Where are we going now?" "Of course we'll act according to the original plan," Lotus-san said, "and I just received a message that Yoshiko will be here soon." Is it Miss Kamiya Yoshiko? Li Yuyue was shocked and immediately complained, "He came to our class a while ago. She came in as a transfer student, but she didn't even go to school for a few days. I thought she dropped out." "I didn't quit school, but there are some things that I haven't finished yet." Lotus-san smiled awkwardly. "After going to the mall, we'll meet up with Yoshiko. We've already agreed on the location." "Where?" Super-chan asked. "Glio City's landmark, the Starry Sky Tower. Opposite us is another landmark, the Wisdom Tree," Lotus-san replied. In fact, she did not expect Kamiya Ryoko to take the risk to help her this time. But it was all thanks to Ryoko Kamiya. This was how he had helped her bring back something very important from Huashio Nation. That was, the Grey Sect leader's token. Before getting up, even Lotus-san herself hadn't expected that the Grey Sect's forces had already expanded to Glio City. Before she set off, in order to better manage the Grey Sect in Huashio Nation, she had temporarily given the sect leader's token to Ryoko Kamiya for safekeeping. And now, Kiya Ryoko had brought the sect master's token over. This also meant that she would have the ability to control all the Grey Church members hiding in the dark in Glio City. The Tengu's intelligence network was indeed extensive. However, they had left out the Grey Church, an organization of cultured people established for the purpose of literary discussion. So what if it was the church? In this day and age, who wasn't a sect master? Lotus-san already had a comprehensive plan in mind. It wasn't easy for her to travel abroad with Wang Ling. It was all because of Tengu that her plans had been completely ruined. This time, she had to wipe out this hateful organization once and for all. Wang Ling, the wicked navigation smoothly parked the car in the basement of Woolwolf Supermarket, but Fang Xing and Steward Lin decided to stay in the car. "Hey, Fang Xing, you're not going?" "I can freeload." "It's free?" Hirogwa asked. "It's fine, I've already told Super-chan what I want to buy, and he'll buy it for me. The GPS isn't honest, so it's safer for Uncle Lin and me to stay here and watch over it." Fang Xing smiled, the same sunny smile on his face that didn't look out of place. He indeed didn't trust this wicked navigation, so he had casually given Super-chan a list in the car just now and indicated that Super-chan would buy it for him. "Don't worry, I'll buy everything you want for you." Super-chan thumped his chest and said. Then, the group got out of the car in high spirits. After several twists and turns, Wang Ling was finally going to buy the limited edition crispy noodle snacks he wanted, and for some reason, he was a little moved. Woolwolf was the largest supermarket in Glio City, and at the same time, Glio City was famous as a cultivation technology demonstration city in Mishio Nation. Even the things sold in the supermarket were full of the aura of science and technology. After buying the "No One Knows Crispy Noodle Snacks Better Than Me" gift bag, Wang Ling followed the others around the supermarket. "Little brothers, would you like to try out our latest product? After installing the quantum fake eye, you'll get twice the results with half the effort. And most importantly, it can quantify your fighting strength." The female saleswoman introduced the product with a smile on her face. "Then how do we use it? Don't tell me you want us to gouge out our eyeballs and put them in?" Hirogwa asked. "That won't happen, little brother. All cultivation machinery and equipment are dismantled and installed for a lifetime free of charge. There are related stores all over the world. You'll be able to use the lifelong security code built into the cultivation machinery and equipment to authenticate it." The saleswoman said, "This quantum artificial eye is the latest product from Shochong Technology Group." "Wait. Madam, can you say that again? What corporation? For a moment, Loda's son thought she was hearing things. Shochong Technology Group, the work of teacher Shochong, a very famous scientist in Huaxiao Nation. I heard that the Wars sect had recently become a shareholder. This quantum artificial eye is the work of Mr. Shochong and a Mr. Wang Xiao heir. For a moment, Wang Ling felt like he was hallucinating. That was Shochong and Wang Ming, these two guys, had definitely stolen the technology from the illusory technology city of nothingness. It was just that Wang Ling had never expected these cultivation machinery and equipment to be mass-produced and sold at the speed of light in such a short period of time. Sure enough, in addition to the quantum artificial eye, there were also a lot of new cultivation machinery and equipment on display on the shelves of cultivation machinery and equipment, including mechanical arms and legs and everything else. These things were very attractive to the new generation of cultivators, and Super Chen and Hero Gua couldn't move their legs at once. You said so much just now, but it feels like you still have to take it out. Can I try it out? Hero Gua asked. Of course. The female saleswoman smiled. All cultivation machinery and equipment need to be installed in the body to achieve a 100% effect. You can now experience it through an external device. However, the external device can only achieve a 20% effect. As she said this, the female saleswoman took out a helmet. I've already connected the quantum artificial eye you chose with the perceptual helmet. As long as you put on the helmet, you'll see what happens next through the quantum artificial eye. I see. Super Chen nodded and couldn't wait to take the helmet and put it on. Let me try it out first. Go ahead, little brother. The female saleswoman smiled as she helped Super Chen buckle up the helmet. After you open your eyes, the relevant functions will directly appear in the menu on the right side of your line of sight. You just need to select the corresponding function and follow the system's instructions. Okay. Super Chen rubbed his hands together. After the equipment started up, he only felt a quick hum in his head, and then heard the electronic voice in his head saying, "Connection successful." A large number of functions related to the quantum artificial eye were swiftly displayed on the right side of the menu, just as the female saleswoman had said. Combat strength measurement, quantum speed reading, heat scan, extreme vision, supervision, one click to cast monthly vote, blink to beat Kuxuan. Super Chen was dazzled by the dazzling array of functions. There's actually supervision? Super Chen was startled. Is this legal? It's legal in our Glio city. The female saleswoman smiled. Of course, this is a VIP function that requires members to top up. The specific effects of the vision are graded according to the member. King members have full vision. King members and below won't have very good vision. You still need to top up. Super Chen sked. Is there a free experience function? Yes, the combat strength measurement is free. Little brother, you can try it on your friends. Super Chen nodded slightly. Then, in the next second, he immediately focused his gaze on Wang Ling. The data showed that Wang Ling was at the early foundation establishment stage. Super Chen immediately laughed. Hey, Lingzi. It's been half a year since school started, why are you still only at the early foundation establishment stage? Wang Ling secretly breathed a sigh of relief at this heartless mockery. It seemed that Wang Ming had already taken him into account when he had designed this function back then. Any scan aimed at him would be directly covered up with artificial data. This artificial eye isn't bad. After playing with it for a long time, Super Chen took off the helmet for Hero Gua to try. Then, he walked over to Wang Ling and patted him on the shoulder. Honestly speaking, Lingzi, I always thought that you were very strong and just pretended to be weak. Now it looks like the misunderstanding has been cleared up. As expected, you're a mascot. Wang Ling, at the same time, a mysterious black shadow who was closely observing Wang Ling in the supermarket was recording something in a small notebook. The title of the notebook was written in a large font, Analysis of the Hidden Experts among the members of number 60 High School. Below it was a list of the people on this trip. Fang Xing, Super Chen, Hirogwa, Li Yuiwa, Lotus Sun and... That was right. When he had recorded the names, he had forgotten Wang Ling's name, and didn't know who on earth this person was. This was why he had used 3 question marks as a marker. It wasn't until now that he had been observing Wang Ling in secret. Only then did he finally remember who this Mr. was. And now he used his pen to completely black out these 3 question marks. Because just now, that Super Chen had already helped him eliminate one wrong answer. A mere early foundation establishment good for nothing. He wasn't worth their Tengu's attention. The error-free chapter of the daily life of the Immortal King will continue to be updated on the mobile game bar. There are no advertisements on the site, so please collect and recommend the mobile game bar. If you like the daily life of the Immortal King, please collect. The daily life of the Immortal King mobile game bar is the fastest to update. Chapter 1795. Shopping was always the key to stimulating the secretion of dopamine in humans, especially when it was free, when the secretion of dopamine would rise to a peak. When the number 60 high group arrived at the entrance of the supermarket with bags of all sizes, the cashier was first startled by the mountain of goods behind them. Was this F*** King shopping? Were they sure it wasn't clearance? The cashier was a little shocked, and it took a long while for her to come back to her senses, and she called several colleagues over to help her scan the barcodes. This incident directly alarmed the general sales manager of Volwolf Supermarket, and he immediately took command. They were very skilled, and after scanning the barcodes, they directly put the goods into storage bags one by one. According to Volwolf Supermarket's promotional rules, any one-time purchase of goods worth more than 100,000 yuan could be given a space storage bag repacking service, which was completely free. It took a full half an hour to repack the goods, and in the end, the total amount spent on the display was 269 million yuan. "Miss, may I ask how you intend to pay?" the sales manager asked as he tried to control his wild smile. "I'll swipe my card. Also, I'd like to ask if I can directly buy your supermarket." Lotus Sun took out a crystal card with an unknown upper limit from her wallet. At that moment, everyone in number 60 high felt that Lotus Sun's entire body was glowing. That was right, her entire body was surging with a holy light, as if she was an 8-winged holy angel descending from the heavens. Naturally, Lotus Sun hadn't come up with the idea on the spur of the moment, but had been thinking about it for a long time. Huagua Water Curtain Group had already bought the largest chain hotel in Glio City, the Loot. If they could continue to buy Volwolf, they would be able to advance in the hotel and supermarket industries together. Furthermore, once they bought Volwolf, Huagua Water Curtain Group would have an enormous export channel for elixirs abroad. Of course, Lotus Sun was well aware that buying a supermarket wasn't something that a sales manager could decide, so she had just casually asked when she swiped her card, and hadn't expected a reply at all. In the end, the sales manager said, "Well, I can't make the decision to buy a supermarket. But Miss Sun's luck is pretty good today. Our boss happens to be patrolling the store today. Miss Sun led her friends to spend a lot of money today, and our boss also happens to want to meet Miss Sunday. Also." Saying this, the sales manager turned his gaze to Wang Ling and Wang Muyu. "Our boss said that she knows these 2 gentlemen with dead fish eyes." "Is your boss a man or a woman?" Lotus Sun asked in a daze. "Female, a woman?" Lotus Sun immediately tensed up. At that moment, everyone from number 60 high looked at Wang Ling and Wang Muyu in unison. This time, even Wang Ling started to get nervous. "No way, Wang Ling, don't tell me Wang Muyu is you and this supermarket owner," Hirogwa made a bold speculation. "So, you really are Wang Muyu's father?" Wang Ling's face instantly turned white. "Stop teasing Wang Ling, look how scared he is." Li Yuiwa didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Who's your boss?" Lotus Sun asked again. "I wonder if Miss Sun has heard of Mrs. Lavin's name?" the sales manager asked. It was only then that Wang Ling and Wang Muyu understood. It was the rich lady they had met in the coffee shop yesterday. At that time, Gullio City branch Lei had also told Wang Ling that this Mrs. Lavin was a famous local producer of a cultivation variety show. It was just that Wang Ling hadn't expected Mrs. Lavin to actually also be the boss behind Wall Wolf. Here we are, everyone. In the end, this kind-looking sales manager led the people from number 60 high upstairs. Sure enough, Wang Ling saw Mrs. Lavin, whom he had met in the coffee shop, in the office on the top floor of Wall Wolf. Ah. Little brother, we meet again. You're really too cute. As soon as she saw Wang Muyu, she couldn't help feeling overflowing with motherly love. Perhaps realizing that she had lost her composure, Mrs. Lavin quickly readjusted herself. Ahem, please sit down. Someone, quickly pour coffee for these distinguished guests. Yes, the secretary on the side quickly responded, and then retreated to work. After some small talk, Mrs. Lavin got straight to the point. As expected of the eldest daughter of Huaguo Water Curtain Group, Miss Lotus Sunday. You are indeed generous with your money, extraordinary. Mrs. Lavin, you flatter me. To be honest, I'm also a little surprised. I only heard that you were a famous producer of variety shows. I didn't expect you to be the one running the supermarket business, Lotus Sun replied in a low-key and modest manner. Business has always been my strength. A person is destined to have many identities in life. In fact, even I didn't expect that I would become so popular as a producer of variety shows. Furthermore, I made a lot of money. Mrs. Lavin picked up her coffee cup and said with the calm elegance of a noble lady, I heard that Miss Sun wants to buy my Wall Wolf. Yes, that's a plan. Lotus Sun nodded. But Mrs. Lavin's supermarket only needs money. You won't sell it so easily, right? Miss Sun is indeed smart. Mrs. Lavin smiled. I don't care about money at all. Money is like floating clouds to me. Why would I want so much money? I can't even use it all. After enjoying life enough, what I want most now is to find some fun for the rest of my boring life. That's why I've embarked on the path of a variety show producer. Then, what are your conditions, Mrs. Lavin? Asked Lotus Sunday. Don't be hasty, Miss Sunday. Let me finish first. Mrs. Lavin said, a straightforward person doesn't beat around the bush. Miss Sun, you should be well aware of your situation now. The Church and Scarlet Orchid Association have taken action against you one after another, causing you and your classmates to be confined to Gullio City and unable to return to China. At this time, if I sell the supermarket to you, it's actually an act of siding with someone. Of course, what I'm saying to Miss Sun now doesn't mean that I'm afraid of these two forces. I just want Miss Sun to understand my sincerity. Speaking up to this point, Madame Raven slowly got up and looked expectantly in the direction of the number 60 high group. I only have one request, and that is for all of you from number 60 high to participate in the recording of a variety show with the elite representative selected from another local cultivation high school in our Gullio City. As long as the recording is successfully completed, I'll transfer all my shares in Gullio City to Miss Sunday. As for the rest, I don't want a single cent. At that moment, Lotus Sun frowned slightly and said in bewilderment, I want to know, why does Mrs. Lavin like our number 60 high? Chapter 1796. I think Miss Sun and all the students present should be very clear on why number 60 high was chosen. Madame Raven covered her mouth slightly with her right hand, which was covered in white lace, and smiled. In less than half a year, from Shadow Stream, Immortal Mansion to that devil Emperor Guapai, the destruction of so many organizations and experts one after another is inextricably linked to your number 60 high. To be honest, it doesn't have much to do with us. It's useless even if Miss Sun prevaricates like this. Number 60 high's reputation has long spread overseas, including in Gullio City. Elite high school students who want to cross borders to challenge number 60 high are eager to try. She smiled. If we hold a variety show challenge between high school students at this time, I believe that the ratings will already surpass all previous ones. I just want a thrill, and I hope Miss Sun won't have any other concerns. In addition, in order to ensure that Miss Sun and all the students can stay here and participate in the recording of this variety show without worry, I have also sent an email application to number 60 High as the producer of the variety show. Saying this, Madame Raven fiddled with the electronic wristwatch in her hand, and with a buzz, an email was immediately projected in the air. This is Old Chen's email. It even has Old Chen's school seal. At this point, everyone from number 60 High was dumbfounded. As you can see, the headmaster of your school has agreed to let you stay to record this variety show challenge. He has also applied for a 7-day holiday. Don't worry, the variety show won't take too long to record. 7 days is enough for us to finish competing in all the events. In addition, Headmaster Chen also made a request, which is to conceal your identities. I can also guarantee this. Madame Raven smiled brightly. Throughout the recording of the variety show, we will provide you with exclusive masks to cover your faces. You only need to wear your school uniforms to participate in the show. As for me, it's useless even if I wear a mask, because someone will definitely know who I am. At that moment, Lotus Sun sighed in her heart as she sighed at Madame Raven's methods. She was the future successor of Huagua Water Curtain Group, and now that such a thing had happened in Glio City, the whole world's attention was on her. Even if she wore a mask to hide her identity, it was useless. As long as she released information about Showdown High, even if she didn't mention her name, everyone would definitely know that it was her. In Lotus Sun's eyes, this was no different from directly reporting her ID number. No matter how the variety show was, as long as she was there, the ratings would be guaranteed. It was obvious that Madame Lavin had planned all of this from the beginning. Lotus Sun's only consolation now was that her face would be covered for this variety show, and everyone's attention would be focused on her, so it shouldn't affect Wang Ling too much. But even so, she still felt a little uncomfortable. She didn't want to cause trouble for Wang Ling, but now it seemed that this was completely the opposite of what she had intended. If we lose, it'll definitely be very humiliating. In comparison, Hero Gua and the others weren't in a very good mood. Originally, they just wanted to travel abroad to relax, but they ended up participating in this variety competition for no reason. Headmaster Chen had personally signed the mail with the school's seal, so he had no choice but to go. Most importantly, this variety challenge was the focus of the entire world. If they lost, it would be extremely embarrassing. Therefore, in just an instant, everyone felt the pressure on them. If all of you are going to participate in the competition, what about me? Wang Miyu asked. There was a little envy in his eyes. The little guy was at the age of a curious baby, and it was the time for him to accept and absorb all kinds of new things. An activity like the variety challenge was naturally very attractive to Wang Miyu himself. Miyu, believe me, this show isn't fun. Big sisters and big brothers are under a lot of pressure, Li Yuyue said helplessly. Really? It clearly sounds like fun, Wang Miyu said. Don't worry, little brother, Auntie will specially arrange a segment for you. At that moment, Madame Lavin laughed sinisterly again. I've already reported this to Headmaster Chen. The variety show challenge this time was a 6+1 challenge format. 6 high school students and 1 elementary school student. The high school delegation from Glio City will also select a famous local king-level elementary school student to participate. Wang Miyu looked puzzled. A king-level elementary school student? Is he very good? Madame Lavin, of course. The so-called king-level elementary school student is someone who can finish their cultivation homework on time, never causes trouble for others, carry their teammates when playing games, and never use their parents' money to secretly top up games, tip live streamers or buy some other boring virtual goods. Wang Miyu, then, can a king-level elementary school student from Glio City blow up the earth with one punch? Hearing this, Madame Lavin couldn't help laughing. Little brother Miyu, you really know how to joke. He's just an elementary school student, how can he have the power to blow up the earth? Wang Miyu, but I can. Madame Lavin looked like she was coaxing a child. Yes, Auntie knows you can. But you don't have to blow up the earth in this competition, you just need to listen to your brothers and sisters' arrangements. You're the key to getting points. Wang Miyu nodded. Understood. Wang Ling and Lotus Sun. Saying this, Madame Lavin looked at everyone. That's the situation. It seems that everyone already understands. Then, I'll give Miss Sun the rules of the variety challenge later tonight. When the time comes, Miss Sun can give us a detailed introduction. All right. Lotus Sun sighed and looked at the number 60 high team a little guiltily. I've really troubled everyone by getting you all involved this time. Since we're already here, let's just take things as they come. Boss Sun, you don't have to be like this, we're also borrowing your light. In any case, we're all covering our faces, so it's not shameful to lose, said Hirogwa. It's indeed not a big deal if we lose. A variety show is entertainment in itself, and being funny and enjoyable is the first priority. Madame Lavin laughed. But if we win, there's an extra surprise. I can turn all the things you have bought today into gold. Super Chen was startled when he heard this, and immediately looked at Wang Ling. Then Lingzi will suffer a huge loss. He didn't buy anything except crispy noodle snacks. Madame Lavin, that's easy, I can just make a limited number of golden crispy noodle snacks. Even the pepper noodles will be gilded with gold powder. Wang Ling. Chapter 1797. After bidding farewell to Madame Lavin, everyone successfully met Ryoko Kwamiya in the Starry Sky Tower. Taking advantage of the view in the Starry Tower, Wang Ling saw Kamiya Ryoko stealthily find an opportunity to stuff the token of the head of the Grey Sect into Lotus Sun's hand, and then the two of them started to talk. Ryoko Kamiya, I think this Mrs. Lavin has a secret. She was also a businesswoman, and Wolf's business network covered the whole of Mishio Nation. Tens of billions of annual revenue, just for a variety show. That's too unrealistic. That's what I think too. Lotus Sun nodded. I didn't want to take it at first, but now the headmaster has agreed, saying that we're winning glory for the country. And he also said. Kwamiya Ryoko was puzzled. What else? Lotus Sun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He also said that this was the result of his comprehensive consideration. Because starting from our cohort, as long as classmate Wang Ling was in the competition, he would win all of them. That's why Headmaster Chen thinks that Wang Ling is a mascot, so this is a sure win. Ryoko Kwamiya sighed. There was no doubt that Wang Ling was a very dangerous mascot. This time, with all the forces mixed together, Ryoko Kwamiya felt that things would become more interesting. Where are you going to live next, Yoshiko? Is there any guarantee of safety? Lotus Sun asked. I'll be fine. Senior Qin Zong and Senior Xiang Yi followed me, and we got a free hotel coupon on the plane. We were now staying in a resort hotel on the edge of Glio City. The location was great, and it wasn't under the control of any forces. It's a blind spot. Kamiya Ryoko said, we'll settle down here so that we can intervene from the periphery to support you at any time. As expected of Senior Qin Zong, Lotus Sun sighed. Instead of worrying about me, you should worry about yourself. There's obviously something wrong with this variety challenge. Although I'm not sure what Mrs. Lavin's purpose is, you have to be careful, said Kamiya Ryoko. Currently, the Crimson Orchid Association is in conflict with the army, but there is no conclusion yet. After all, this operation was ordered by the church. I'm afraid that the church has already negotiated with Makaxi, Lotus Sun said. I don't think it's that simple. Kamiya Ryoko said, as far as I know, based on Mishio's power, Mishio has a lot of power. When the church, the military, and the local forces were in conflict, there was actually a peacemaking organization that stood above the three. He had been sent by Mishio's Cultivation Federation. I remember it was called Heavenly Law Alliance. Heavenly Law Alliance? The Heavenly Tao Alliance doesn't belong to any city, and is directly under the head of state of Mishio Nation. For the sake of the head of state, these forces had to give him some face. Originally, we were quite successful in stirring up the conflict between the two sides. If the Heavenly Law Union intervened at this time and mediated the conflict, the Heavenly Law Union would not be able to deal with it. Even if they are united against a common enemy, they will still point their spear at us. Kamiya Ryoko rubbed her forehead, feeling an unprecedented headache. Now, Senior Seong-yi has already prepared for the worst. He can't be thinking of, that's right. He had already extracted the photos of the leaders of the three factions. If he really couldn't deal with them in the end, he would be able to kill them. He can only be the bad guy. Kamiya Ryoko said, when the time comes, be it the church's pope or the Heavenly Tao Union's alliance leader, Senior Seong's silver bullet would be enough to blow their heads off. That night, the Snail Hotel where the people from number 60 High were staying was under martial law. The people in charge of martial law weren't sent by Hwagwo Water Curtain Group, nor were they local mercenaries, but the direct troops of Madame Lavin's force. They were white warriors known as White Demons. They wore light armor from head to toe and each of them carried at least 2 katanas on their backs. On average, they were at level 6 of the Soul Formation stage. These white warriors were like hailstones after the spring thunder. They came from all directions and surrounded the Spiral Shell Hotel. Every guest who wanted to stay in the Spiral Shell Hotel had to go through a strict identity check before they were allowed to stay. That's too much. Outside the hotel suite, Super Chin and the others looked at the scene outside the French window. Even though they were on a high floor, they could clearly sense the busy figures of these white warriors dozens of meters below them. Who cares? In any case, we're already being watched by the local forces. Madame Lavin did this to protect us. Hirogwa spread his hands and said, in any case, didn't she promise Boss Lotus Sun that she would compensate the hotel 3 times the amount of the losses caused by the protection of the white warriors? Be that as it may. But Lotus Sun still felt vaguely uneasy. On the surface, it seemed that Madame Lavin's purpose in doing this was indeed to protect them so that they could smoothly film the next variety competition. But Lotus Sun had an inexorable intuition that Madame Lavin's true purpose wasn't that simple. Especially after what Ryoko Kamiya had said to her, she felt that Madame Lavin's purpose wasn't that simple. At the same time, under the night sky, Madame Lavin slowly stepped out of a limousine in front of St. Peter's Cathedral. We'll escort Madame in. Behind her, 2 white warriors appeared behind her in a flash. You don't have to go in. Wait for me at the door. Madame Lavin's expression was calm as she slowly walked inside the church along the red carpet that had been laid out to the soles of her feet in front of St. Peter's Cathedral with a snow-white cane in her hand. Enveloped by the moonlight, the glazed roof tiles were noble and gorgeous, giving off a solemn and holy feeling. At this moment, in St. Peter's Cathedral, Levis, the president of the Crimson Orchid Association, had already come out ahead of time. He was facing the portrait of the Virgin Mary with his eyes and half of his butt on the wooden bench, praying devoutly. Only when he heard movement did he slowly open his eyes and muttered, Lavin, you're here. And you didn't even bring a single guard in. You're still as bold as ever. As expected of the woman known as the Snow Princess Empress of Glio City. It's all an empty title given by others. Let's not mention it. Madame Lavin covered her mouth and smiled with her eyes squinted. Your Red Eagle of the Crimson Orchid Association isn't bad either. He's hiding in his cave and doesn't dare to come out after being scared by the legendary general, Mike Oxy. I'm just curious why someone who openly chooses a side would have the courage to stand here. Levis smiled. Choose a side? What side? Madame Lavin pretended to be confused. You openly mobilized the white warriors to protect those despicable foreigners. On the surface, it's to ensure the recording of the variety competition. But in reality, isn't this the act of choosing a side? At this moment, Levis revealed a sinister smile. Do you think the church will let you off so easily? Chapter 1798. Madame Lavin was fearless in the face of such a question. Her laughter that sounded unusually gentle had a hint of disdain in it. She said with confidence and calmness, I respect the Church and believe in the Holy Mother. The glory of the Holy Mother's existence will forever shine into the depths of everyone's heart and illuminate this country forever. However, this country doesn't belong to the Holy Mother, nor does it belong to any of us. Madame Lavin paused, opened her eyes and said, "It's the same for this city called Glio City. We should trust each other and stay in our place. We shouldn't engage in a meaningless argument here." As soon as she finished speaking, a loud applause was reflected through the glazed tiles of the dome inside the bright St. Peter Cathedral and spread throughout the whole cathedral. A handsome man with long blonde hair applauded from the entrance of the cathedral as he walked along the red carpet. He was wearing a bright and beautiful military uniform. The magnificent shoulder pads were dotted with general badges, and the lapel on his chest was full of military medals. As always, he had a kind of flamboyance that belonged to Michael ACI. "Well said, Madame Lavin. But now, it's obvious that someone doesn't want us to do this." Michael ACI held the general's sword hanging on his waist tightly and said, "You and Levis are white and black. Instead of opposing each other, it's better to seek symbiosis. The church is the link that binds us together, so we don't have to go against the church." Speaking of this, he piously faced the Holy Mother and made a praying gesture. After all, going against the church is going against the Holy Mother. The three of us are not gathered here to divide Glio City. Michael ACI, I didn't expect an uneducated man like you to say such artistic words. How interesting. Since when did you learn to pray? I remember that you're not a very cultured person. Levis smiled. His voice was cold. Even in the face of Michael ACI, he was still fearless. "I'm like this because of my daughter's influence. She's become more obedient recently. She seems to be infatuated with a literary organization and has begun to have an interest in learning." Michael ACI smiled and said, "I don't want her to walk my path like me. My path is not easy to walk. It's easy to encounter wild dogs on the road." Buzz. In the blink of an eye, the sword light slashed down and shrouded the church's glaze. The chair that Levis was sitting on was cut into pieces in front of everyone. Levis couldn't react in time and fell on his buttocks on the broken wood. Michael ACI's attack was too fast. He didn't even have time to react before he fell to the ground. Without a doubt, this was a form of humiliation. Just as Levis was about to curse out loud, he saw Michael ACI, who was standing in front of the Holy Mother's portrait, turning his head to look at him. His eyes radiated a faint killing intent that instantly poured down from the top of his head and into his spine. "Levis, my tolerance for you is limited to the Holy Mother's face. If it weren't for the church, you and your Crimson Orchid Association would have perished. Next time, if you dare to talk nonsense again, it will be your head that explodes." His eyes were filled with killing intent. It was the gaze of a tiger staring at its prey. Levis sat on the ground, trying his best to remain calm. Just as the rumor said, Michael ACI had become even stronger after coming out of seclusion. If he hadn't held back with that strike just now, he might have lost his life. But even so, Levis's face didn't reveal the slightest hint of fear. With the support of an inexplicable confidence, his eyes met Michael ACI's once again. "If my head can be personally removed by this legendary general, it might be a form of luck. But Michael ACI, can you really get rid of him?" Levis laughed. Madame Lavin frowned deeply. This was undoubtedly a provocation, and it was done under such a great disparity in strength. Even Madame Lavin herself wasn't sure if she had a chance of winning against Michael ACI. Levis's strength was so great that he dared to openly challenge Michael ACI. Even with the church's support, this kind of confidence wasn't enough. "Kill." Michael ACI was obviously infuriated. His eyes were deep, carrying an indescribable coldness and a dense killing intent. The silver sword light intertwined with the glazed halo on the dome and slashed at Levis's head in an instant. This kind of killing intent and aura was too awe-inspiring. Madame Lavin didn't doubt that Levis's head would fall to the ground immediately. Bang! However, in the next second, the moment when Levis and the sword light were about to intertwine, a golden bullet pierced through from afar. It burst into dazzling sparks and exploded like the sun. The light was so dazzling that it made Michael ACI and Madame Lavin's eyes hurt. A golden bullet accurately blocked Mikoasi's fatal slash, saving Levis' head in the nick of time. "Who dares to block my sword?" Michael ACI was furious. He didn't expect his sword to be blocked at the critical moment. Calm down, General. I'm here to make peace. A squint-eyed man with ear-length short hair and a monocle wearing a dark blue coat slowly walked in from afar. You are. The sharpness in Michael ACI's eyes vanished instantly. He stared at the man and frowned deeply. He felt that he had seen the cloud pattern on this man's coat somewhere before. Heavenly Tao Alliance. The squint-eyed man opened his mouth and blew a wisp of green smoke that floated out of the gun barrel. He was the one who shot the golden bullet just now. That bullet contained immortal energy and was extremely powerful. It was a bullet condensed with cultivation. Since it blocked his general's sword, it proved that this gun was at least a powerful world-defying artifact. Please don't misunderstand, General Michael ACI. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm not strong myself, but I rely on this Heavenly Tao spear given to me by the Heavenly Tao Alliance to have a say in this world. The squint-eyed man smiled and said, let me introduce myself. I'm the leader of Heavenly Tao Alliance's first team, Pei Luochi. First team leader? Michael ACI frowned deeply. There were 6 teams in the entire Heavenly Tao. One of them had the most shocking strength. The leader of this team, Pei Luochi, was known as the Heavenly Tao's Grim Reaper. Michael ACI had heard of this person a long time ago. However, he didn't expect this person to be this squint-eyed man with a strange voice and a sneaky smile. I'll cut to the chase, General Michael ACI. I'm here to mediate, Pei Luochi said. Originally, I didn't want to get involved in this matter. Recently, my son has become obsessed with learning because of a literary organization, so I wanted to stay at home to tutor him. But now, you guys are fighting in Glio City. As the leader of First Team, I have no choice but to intervene. As he spoke, he looked around at Michael ACI, Madame Lavin, and Levis. My Heavenly Tao spear isn't here to protect anyone. What I'm doing is to turn your conflict into a united bullet of justice. P.S. Who do you think the literary organization mentioned in the text is? Chapter 1799. Here, it's always the fist that talks. Whoever's fist is harder controls the truth. Wielding the general's sword, there was a hint of excitement in Mike ACI's eyes as he stared at Pei Luochi. He had long heard of the Heavenly Tao Alliance's team leader, and thus didn't intend to let go of this opportunity to compete. As someone who had just come out of seclusion and stepped into a new realm, Mike ACI was really curious about whether the Heavenly Tao Alliance's battle strength was as heaven-defying as the legend said. BZZT. Almost in an instant, Mike ACI unsheathed his sword and attacked again. Wielding the general's sword, his sword chi was like a rainbow as he moved at an incredible speed. This man was serious. The moment they sensed the dense killing intent, Madame Raven and Levis instantly retreated to the sides to keep a distance from the two. St. Peter's Cathedral was instantly overturned. The portrait of the Virgin Mary behind Mike ACI swayed in the gale, and the string was torn off in front of everyone as it floated into the distance. This was Mike ACI's unique madness. Once it got to his head, this legendary general of Mishio Nation would become an out-and-out lunatic. Facing the powerful spiritual pressure and the terrifying blade that was about to strike his neck, Pei Luochi stood solemnly on the spot, far calmer than Madame Raven and Levis had imagined. Earlier, Pei Luochi had claimed that he had relied on the Heavenly Tao spear in his hand to get to this step, but now that he was standing in the middle of the field and facing Mike ACI's sudden attack, he was as unmoving as Mount Tai, which was enough to prove how extraordinary he was. Clang! The blade accurately struck Pei Luochi's neck with the sound of godly metal colliding. His body was unbelievably tough, and he directly blocked Mike ACI's sword in the most ordinary manner. At the same time, strands of purple chi seeped out of Pei Luochi's skin and wrapped around Mike ACI's general's sword. Immortal chi? Madame Raven and Levis were shocked at the same time. They could sense that this purple chi was extraordinary. They had already sensed it when the Heavenly Tao spear had shot that golden bullet earlier. Now that this immortal chi was revealed again, both of them were horrified at the same time. Sure enough, Pei Luochi, the Heavenly Tao Alliance's team leader, had already become a venerated immortal after Earth leveled up. Maiko Assie's sword failed to cut off the head, but the expression on his face did not change much. He snorted, and then put away his general sword. He stared at Pei Luochi, who was still smiling with his eyes narrowed, and then said with a hint of coldness, "Why aren't you attacking? I've said it before, it's to unite all of you into a single force to fight against the outside world. That's why I had no intention of fighting General Mikoasi from the start." Perugia replied, "My original intention was to mediate the conflict. If I were to make a move against General Mike 11, wouldn't that be the exact opposite of what I intended? At the same time, I hope General McAvoy understands. After all, they were all fathers. And there is also a child who recently fell in love with learning." Heh, boring. Upon hearing that, Maxie sheathed his sword. He didn't like Peroche. From the moment this man walked into the church, Mike Osti felt that Peroche's face had an indescribable expression that deserved a beating. "I don't know if General Mikoasi likes me or not, but even so, the most important thing for us to do right now is to work together sincerely. To avoid being sowed discord by the same opponents." Peroche said, "This time, I'm here to talk to all of you on behalf of the Great Pontiff." As he spoke, Peroche took out a beautifully framed jade scroll from his bosom. This is the Great Pontiff's handwritten letter. The Great Pontiff's personal signature and seal is also on it. Therefore, the result of my discussion with all of you is the final result of the discussion with the Great Pontiff. Why didn't the Great Pontiff come himself? Mike Osti was puzzled. The Great Pontiff is a person who loves to learn. Recently, he has been so engrossed in literature that he couldn't extricate himself. That's why he couldn't come himself. Peroche said. Knowledge is the ladder to progress. The Great Pontiff is still as ambitious as ever. Madame Lavin walked over from the side. She had a smile on her face as she moved her slightly plump body. Her seemingly clumsy body was actually not slow at all. Mike Osti could sense that Lavin's and Levis's reactions had already surpassed what they had been when he had confronted Peroche earlier. They had also concealed some of their strength, and had improved even further than before. After confirming that Peroche was holding the Great Pontiff's letter, Mike Osti sighed deeply and stared at Peroche. You intend to play matchmaker for us, but we already have a traitor here, don't we? Hearing this, Madame Lavin was the first to laugh. General, there's no need to use such an obscure excuse. You could have just given me my ID number. That's right, I won over that Miss Sun and the members of number 60 high school to participate in the variety show challenge, and I sent my white warriors to protect them. But the truth is that this is the Great Pontiff's idea. This is the Great Pontiff's idea? This time, even Levis was shocked. Peroche smiled. The Great Pontiff's purpose in doing this is actually to get Lavin closer to those people. That's why he needs to make arrangements in advance, including creating a conflict between President Levis's Scarlet Orchid Association and Huagua Water Curtain Group and Battle Sect. But the nun he sent to my side is from the Tengu. For a moment, Levis felt that his brain wasn't big enough to process everything, but he very quickly thought of a frightening possibility. Could it be that the Great Pontiff is, that's right. Peroche said, now that things have come to this, I won't hide it from you anymore. The Great Pontiff is in fact an 8-star Tengu, and has an extremely high status in the Tengu ranks. The 6 high school students from Glio City who will be fighting number 60 high school this time were also carefully selected by the Great Pontiff. They are known as the 6 great child prodigies. I remember, didn't you say that there was another child? Mike Osti asked with a frown. Yes. Peroche nodded. There is a child. And this child is the leader of our Heavenly Tao Alliance Team 2, Zhou Yun. He's very strong, but he was born with a childish face, and has always maintained a child's figure. This time, he will be the corps commander of the 6+1 model. While St. Peter's Cathedral was secretly plotting the variety competition, student Wang Ling, who was also a father, was also discussing specific countermeasures with the people from number 60 high school in a suite at the Snail Hotel. Just half an hour ago, Lotus Sun, as the leader of the Grey Sect, had used the secret key on her token to post a set of coordinates on the exclusive Grey Sect app. She had urgently mobilized all the Grey Sect disciples in Glio City who could help, just half an hour later. In a private room in the hotel, a little girl who looked no more than 12 suddenly knocked on the door mysteriously. Lotus Sun opened the door. "You are?" "I'm Micah Bay. Big sister, you can call me Little North." The little girl smiled. "I'm here to look for the legendary leader of the Grey Sect." Chapter 1800. Micah Bay. A little girl in a light blue dress. She was clearly very young, but she had dyed her hair a beautiful pink curly. Inside the room, when everyone from number 60 high heard the girl's name, they all simultaneously associated her with the name of Mishio's legendary general, Michael ACI. Super Chen was startled. "This is the daughter of that legendary general? She's actually a Grey Sect disciple?" Everyone sucked in a cold breath. There were very few Grey Sect disciples who could find this location unimpeded, and Micah Bay was protected by her identity as General Michael ACI's daughter. Even if the white warriors at the door saw her, they wouldn't think that this legendary general's daughter hadn't come to the hotel to have fun, but to look for the leader of the Grey Sect. To be on the safe side, everyone from number 60 high prepared to act according to the plan they had agreed on earlier. It was true that Lotus Sun was the leader of the Grey Sect, but the eyes of the various forces in Glio City were very complicated. Without any in-depth contact, everyone felt that it was better not to expose her identity as the leader of the Grey Sect. Thus, when it came to meeting the disciples, they decided that Lotus Sun would stay in the room and remotely direct the operation, while the rest of them would take turns playing the role of the leader of the Grey Sect. Even the sequence had been decided. The first person to play the role of the leader of the Grey Sect was Hirogwa. When the door to the room opened, Micah Bay walked in full of longing. Her eyes were sparkling, as if she had embarked on a path of cutting-edge literature and was about to realize her dreams. "Hello, Miss Xiao Bei, I am the leader of the Grey Sect." Then, with Hirogwa's greeting, it was like a basin of cold water had been poured over her. There was clear astonishment on Micah Bay's little face. She looked at the fierce-looking little fatty in front of her, and for a moment felt like her dreams had been shattered. You are the leader of the Grey Sect? What, are you very disappointed?" Seeing Micah Bay's downcast face, Hirogwa was in fact also dealt a heavy blow to his heart. He hadn't done anything wrong, he had just been entrusted with the task of protecting Lotus Sun's identity as the leader of the true sect. In the end, he hadn't expected to be despised by the Grey Sect disciples in Glio City in the first round. "No, I'm not disappointed." Micah Bay tried to maintain her smile as she shook her head. "I'm just desperate." Hirogwa, everyone else, Micah Bay, the leader of the Grey Church in my imagination is a person shrouded in light. Not a person surrounded by fat. Hirogwa, it could be seen that after Micah Bay said this, Hirogwa almost couldn't sit still anymore. But for the sake of the bigger picture, the others stood in a row behind Hirogwa and firmly pressed down on his shoulders. The scene was indeed a little awkward, and even Wang Ling started to feel a little embarrassed on Hirogwa's behalf. Although Oldgua's body was a little swollen, he could actually be considered a nimble fatty. As one of the students in the elite class, he had also been one of the top students in number 60 High's PE exam. He had never been humiliated like this before. It was not scary to be despised by the people around him. After all, the more derogatory their words were, the closer their relationship was. But when a complete stranger came up and gave him a head-on blow, Hirogwa instantly felt a heart-wrenching pain, and he almost couldn't take it anymore. Perhaps realizing that he had gone overboard, Micah Bay's little face was immediately filled with smiles. "Ah, I'm sorry, Lord Sect Leader. Actually, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean a lot of what I said. I don't know why, but after seeing your face, I couldn't help blurting it out because it was so different from what I thought." It's fine. Hirogwa tried his best to remain calm. "By the way, Little Bay, since you saw me post the coordinates and come here, you should know what happened, right? Also, you should know that your identity is very special. Of course I know. Mike Abe said, my father is Mishio Nation's legendary general, Mike ACI. It's precisely because of this that none of those white warriors dared to stop me or follow me when I went upstairs just now. They all thought I was here for a beauty treatment. A little girl needs beauty treatment? Hirogwa laughed. Of course girls need to take care of themselves, otherwise they won't be able to lose weight even if they want to, Mike Abe replied with a smile on his face. Mike Abe replied with a smile on his face, and these words made Hirogwa feel like he had been shot in the knee again. Let's not talk about this, little Bae, you know, I need your help now. No problem. Although I'm very disappointed with the appearance of the leader of the Grey Church, I'm still a loyal follower of the Grey Church. Your image in my heart is still that of a paper man. I just need to forget what you look like later. The leader of the Grey Church can only be what I see in my heart. Mike Abe said with a slightly yearning look in his eyes, look, a speck of gray in the age. What a beautiful sentence. Wang Ling, Lotus Sun, and the others, are you sure it's okay, little Bae? We want you to be our informant, and we need you to provide us with information on your father Mike ACI's movements. Hirogwa asked. Of course it's okay. My father never has time to accompany me, and often yells outside about how to become stronger and stronger. I can't wait for him to lose face outside, and it'd be best if he stayed at home the whole time. Mike Abe smiled and said, if only my father could fall. In that case, I could prepare a cage at home and raise my father in it. Wang Ling. Hirogwa, everyone else, hearing Mike Abe's words, everyone from number 60 high was a little shocked. Sure enough, all the pink hair was black. This was too frightening. Who would have thought that the legendary daughter of a legendary general would actually be a sickly girl? Okay, little Bae, you've passed the interview, and I'll be counting on you from now on. I'll get in touch with you through the exclusive Grey Church app, Hirogwa said as he tried to hold back his cold sweat. I understand, Lord Leader, Mike Abe nodded, then waved at everyone in the room. Then we'll talk online. Then, she directly left the room. For some reason, everyone from number 60 high instantly breathed a sigh of relief. Just receiving Mike Abe alone had already made Hirogwa feel like he had already lost half his old life. Can this person really be trusted? Hirogwa said doubtfully at that moment. I think so. Superchin said, her expression just now wasn't fake, she really wants to keep her father in a cage. Wang Ling sighed in his heart. He had only heard of benevolent fathers and filial sons, but didn't know that there was actually such a thing as benevolent fathers and filial daughters. Chapter 1801. Just receiving Mike Abe was enough for Hirogwa to feel tired, and most importantly, Mike Abe had actually looked down on him. Although it wasn't that Hirogwa didn't know what his problem was, even if he was a little fat, it wasn't like he'd eaten rice. So what if he was a little fat? Don't take it to heart, old Gua, being able to eat is a blessing. Helpless, Li Yuyue could only comfort him from the side from a girl's perspective. You have to believe that you're a nimble fatty. For some reason, it sounded like a good thing, but Hirogwa felt that it was an even bigger blow to him. When all was said and done, it wasn't his fault that he was fat, it was mainly a genetic problem. Almost 80% of his uncles were counted by the ton, so he couldn't be blamed for that. You've worked hard, old Gua. Watch me. Seeing Hirogwa's pained expression, Superchin naturally couldn't bear it as his brother, and he stepped forward to take over the role of temporary leader of the Grey Sect. Just then, another voice rang out from outside the suite. Hello, I'm Pei Xiaoyuan. I'm here, to look for the leader of the Grey Sect. It was the voice of a boy about 14 years old. It was a little hoarse and immature, and it was a clear sign that he was going through a voice change that was common among young people. Li Yuyue stepped forward and opened the door. A young man with short, black hair, a long braid at the back of his head, fair skin, and a pair of eye-catching, jetting ears immediately walked into the suite. He looked like an elf. He was wearing dark purple clothes, thin stockings, and a pair of black leather shoes. At first glance, it was obvious that he was dressed like a child from a rich family in Glio City. He exuded an air of nobility that made people feel like they could see him from a distance, but not play with him. Super Chin sat upright on the sofa with a row of people from number 60 high behind him. He rested his chin on his crossed fingers as he looked at the fairy-like youngster in front of him, and deliberately said in a low voice, "Hello, I am the leader of the Grey Sect." "Eh? You're actually the leader of the Grey Sect?" Like Mike Abe, after learning that Super Chen was the leader of the Grey Sect, Pei Xiaoyuan's slightly surprised little face turned a little disappointed. "What? Are you disappointed to see that the Grey Church's leader is a man? Do you think the leader of the Grey Church is a big sister and want to have a passionate relationship with him?" Super Chen said. Super Chen had casually made it up, but in the end, Pei Xiaoyuan's face and ears turned red on the spot as Super Chen's words struck him in the heart. No way. I don't want to date the leader of the Grey Church. I have no intention of pursuing her. Pei Xiaoyuan anxiously refuted. Everyone at number 60 high, including Wang Ling, was instantly struck by this reaction. Even Lotus Sun, who was secretly observing from her room, slapped her face as she was equally shaken. F***CK. Look at this reaction, as expected, he wanted to date the leader of the Grey Church. Super Chen just didn't want to repeat Hirogwa's mistake, so the moment the youngster entered the room, he decided to strike first. In the end, he hadn't expected his unintentional action to directly hit the youngster in the head. At such a young age, instead of studying properly, you only know how to think of such nonsense. Have you fully developed yet? You only want to date an older girl? Super Chen laughed. Little friend, studying properly is the right thing to do now. There's no future if you mature too early. If you do this, your father will be very disappointed. If he wants to be disappointed, then let him be. I can't wait for him to be more disappointed. Pei Xiaoyuan said unhappily, that guy doesn't stay home all day. That's why I've decided to date a woman, marry her, and secretly have children to amaze him. Once he has grandchildren, I'm afraid he won't have time to work. That way, he can stay at home all day and help me take care of the kids. Pei Xiaoyuan gnashed his teeth and said, I've always fantasized that one day, I'll be able to lock my father in a cage with my own hands. He has no idea how hard life is for me and my mom. Everyone at number 60 high sucked in a cold breath when they heard this. Why were kids nowadays so extreme? This was already the second time, wasn't it? Why did they like to lock their father in a cage at the slightest provocation? In fact, after Micah Bay and Pei Xiaoyuan's second time, Wang Miyu actually had a similar idea, but unfortunately, he felt that given his current strength, he wouldn't be able to beat Wang Ling at all. Forget locking his dad in a cage, it was already pretty good that he hadn't been sent here. Wang Ling, classmate Xiaoyuan, what you're doing is definitely wrong. If you want to make things difficult for your father, you just need to carry out our Grey Sect's missions in secret, Super Chen said. From your description, your father is obsessed with work all day, so he should be a big shot, right? What big shot? He's just a team leader in the Heavenly Dao Alliance. Pei Xiaoyuan spread his hands. Hearing this, the expressions of everyone at number 60 high instantly changed. The first one who came was Mike Abe, the daughter of General Mike ACI. The current Pei Xiaoyuan was actually the son of a team leader in the Heavenly Dao Alliance. How did they manage to develop two such excellent spies for a single set of coordinates? It was hard for everyone at number 60 high to believe that this was actually true. Everything was going too smoothly, as if the gods were helping them. Lotus Sun was also a little bewildered in her room. Her initial suspicion was that it was very likely that this senior called Qin Zong had sent a wave of luck in their direction, and this was the legendary purple chi from the east. But it was very obvious that Pei Luoqi was very secretive about the nature of his work, so Pei Xiaoyuan had no idea what on earth Pei Luoqi did. Pei Xiaoyuan gave a wry smile helplessly and said, I don't know what my dad is doing in that strange organization. How can he be so happy as a team leader? Isn't it just collecting homework? Everyone at number 60 high, hearing this, Wang Ling couldn't help a drop of cold sweat running down his forehead. Collecting homework was fine, given the nature of the Heavenly Tao Alliance's work. Collecting homework probably meant that they were collecting heads. Then, do you think there's been anything unusual about your father recently? At that moment, Super Chen asked. It doesn't matter how small the information is. Pei Xiaoyuan thought carefully for a bit, then said, that's right. I remember, it doesn't seem right. I don't know if it has anything to do with my father. Let's hear it first. Super Chen smiled. It's like this. I noticed that every time my father left home, the Pope of St. Peter's Cathedral will come to my house to preach. Preach? Yes. Pei Xiaoyuan nodded and said, the Grand Pontiff said that my father is not at home all day because there are evil spirits in the house. That's why I brought the cross and holy water over. Every time, I had to work with my mom for a long time before I could use it. The number 60 High Team. You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.